Gaurangi Bangalore Ishwari. Gaurangi Bangalore Ishwari. Ki Jai. Yes.
In the scriptures, it is very clear that chanting leads to love of God. White cloth with Toby understood he is the father of Gandhi.
Yeah.
He may not speak out. Just by his way of expressing with his gesture, he understood he is the father of Gandhi. So similarly, now all scriptures, everything, previous acharyas are actually helping us to have proper motive before chanting. And even at the end, every devotee who claims to Vaishnava should really guard against offenses, to quickly the disasters of Krishna. So when I am chanting, my very sign of holding the beat and calling the mantra itself is a sign of asking Lord, kindly help me to attain your heart. I may not be like everyone, but my very fact of holding the beat and calling the mantra itself is a sign that I am praying for. So may not be like, oh Krishna, kindly give me prema. I may not, but very fact, sign itself is a shown. Is it my? Am I correct?
Definitely, maybe. Because I wouldn't say it's true for everybody. And it's true to different degrees. I agree with you, but still, it's like I'm playing the guitar like this, but it's a sign that I want to play guitar. I'm just doing it the wrong way. So a better sign that I want it is to do it right. So yeah, you're trying to play guitar. You're just not doing it right. So if you really want to play it, if you're really serious, then you'll do it right. So I think it's just a question of degree. And we have this saying in America, if it's worth doing, it's worth doing right. You have something like that? So I think that's very, very important. Like, have you ever chanted your rounds and the rounds weren't good and you felt like that was a waste of 2 hours? I could have been utilizing it by something better, like I could have been sleeping those last 2 hours. And I wasted it on, Prabhupada would joke like that. He said, he would always say, utilize your time when you have free time, chant Hare Krishna, but you utilize it by sleeping. So, we've all had that experience. We chanted 16 rounds and they were really bad and we feel like, I just wasted 2 hours. There's like nothing happened. Okay, so we can't say nothing happened because you were trying to chant and you chanted and that's the order of your guru and the order of Prabhupada and you followed it. So there's so much good to the fact that you've done that. And if you're chanting, you always have the potential to chant well. And if you're not chanting, there's no potential to chant well because you're not chanting. So that's better, but it's relative better. It's not absolute better. But when you look, so I'm trying to come from the absolute platform because from my experience, I think that's a better approach. So I don't want to discourage anybody. Like, how did that Japa workshop go? Oh, after that workshop, I just stopped chanting. Because I my chanting so bad. And he basically said it was useless. So I just hung my beads up, sent them, send them away. Maybe I'll check them out next year. No, I don't want to, because Prabhupada never said that. He said, you're chanting, so, I'm above water, I'm drowning, but the water's only coming up to here, so at least I'm alive. When it comes up to here, it's trouble, right? So I'm chanting. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur gave that example. He said, chanting with offense is like your head's above the water, you're just not going anywhere. But chanting without offense is you're swimming to shore. So the answer to your question is, how fast are you swimming when you're chanting? I mean, you're going to be out in that ocean for 10 lifetimes, or you're going to be in that ocean and get to the shore in this lifetime. So we would want to get to the shore in this lifetime. We would want to ensure that we're chanting well enough that it's going to happen. So the question I have to all of you is, the way you're chanting now, does that make you feel like if I keep chanting like this, in 5 years from now, I'm going to be doing much better? Or does it make you feel like, I don't know if I'm going to be any better in 5 years, I could even be worse? Because if you feel like, I don't know if it's going to be better, or it could be worse, that means you need to improve your chanting. And if you feel like, no, my chanting, it's quality, and I feel if I continue this way, I will continue to make advancement, that's good. So that would be yes to you. But the better the more you're confident that your chanting is good, it's a 10 or a 9 or an 8, not a 5 or a 6 or a 4. So when we do our japa retreats, we ask devotees to rate their japa on a scale of 1 to 10. I've done it many, many times, so I can tell you. We do a poll. We do a poll on Zoom. Zoom has polls. So we can see it. And we're talking last year, 3,500 devotees. Do you want the poll on 3,500 devotees? You take the whole room and you ask, grade yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 excellent, 1 poor, 5 average. As you probably can guess, the majority is 4 and 5. And if you go 7, 8, 9, or you go 1, 2, 3, the 1, 2, 3s are higher than the 7, 8, 9s. 7, 8, 9s, 7s you get a few, 6s, 8, 9, 10, practically nothing. But the 1, 2s, and 3s get way more than the 7, 8, 9s. So it means that maybe 20% are above 5, or above, definitely 20% above 6. That means the majority of devotees in ISKCON, when they rate their japa, rate it at average or less than average. That's a problem, don't you think? It's just that nobody does this research, and I tell devotees, when you rate yourself, this is for you, nobody's going to grade you. So, don't be afraid to give yourself whatever grade you think you deserve, and don't be artificially humble. Give yourself a 2, but you're actually at an 8. So this is a pretty objective analysis, that most devotees in ISKCON, let's say 80% or so, or 70, are at 5 or under, average or less than average. And so the next question we ask, and this is a very interesting question. If the way you've chanted japa till now, your average, whatever it is, 5, 4, 3, 7, 8, if that number was the way you were chanting the last week of your life, would that be okay with you? And so most devotees say, no, it wouldn't be okay. Now, let's have another question. Your level of Krishna consciousness, the way you're living, if that's how it's going to be the last week of your life, is that okay with you? Or another way, that's kind of harsh. Let's just say it's the end of your life and you are no more Krishna conscious then than you are now. Is that okay? Are you okay? Or are you in your deathbed going, oh, man, that is not good. It's an interesting thing to ponder, right? Like, shouldn't we be on a level of sadhana, of japa, of progress in Krishna consciousness, that if someone said, if this were the last week of your life, would you be okay with it? And you said, yeah, I would be okay with it. I would be satisfied. Shouldn't we be on that level? Wouldn't that be good? I think so, right? So in our mind is like, well, yeah, when I'm older. When everybody's thinking, well, when I'm older, I'll be better. I'll do it better. Right? I want you to realize if you spend your whole life doing it at 4, you're not going to mystically get to 10 when you hit 65 and retire. It's going to be much, much harder because you've been at 4 your whole life. But somehow or other we think, no, it'll be easy because I'll be older and I'll retire and I'll just do it. Then you have to overcome 30, 40 years of bad habits. Now, wouldn't it be nice to have good habits all your life? When you're in your last days, your retired life, it's going to be much easier because you've cultivated good habits. What question am I answering? I totally forgot. What was the question? Who asked the question? Oh, yeah. So it's a question of quality, right? So definitely, in answer to your question, Prabhupada never discouraged anybody who was chanting, because he always said, you keep chanting, you'll become purified. But there is a lecture in which Prabhupada was talking about offensive chanting. And he said that it's nice that you're chanting 16 rounds a day, but if you're chanting like this, and he was imitating shnik shnik mam mam or something, imitating, he said, you will not get prema if you chant that way. That mantra that gives you prema is chanting without committing offense, at least trying to avoid the offense, being attentive, being absorbed. That is the mantra that can give you prema. So, good that you're chanting 16 rounds, but you want to chant 16 rounds that will give you prema, right? Isn't it? It's like you're saying, I'm starting a business. Is it good that I work hard? Yeah, that's good, but it's better you work smart. Because working hard and working stupid is not going to, produce the result. So that's kind of like what you're saying. I'm trying, I'm working hard. That's good. But you're not going to get the best result just because you tried. So Prabhupada said, okay, that's good you're chanting 16 rounds. You're following the order of your guru. But it's not good if you're making offenses because you won't get the result. You'll just get the benefit of following your guru. But I would say, taking the extreme position which I'm taking now, just to kind of try to push us up, you're not following your guru because you're not chanting properly. So you're committing offense. So you're not following his instruction to chant without offense. Does that make sense? So again, I just want to make a disclaimer. I'm exaggerating a little bit, and I don't want to discourage anybody, because all chanting is good. But I'm trying to just pull you, like shock you to realize that a lot of what we call chanting is not really the way it's supposed to be. And we're not getting the full benefit from it. So if I've scared you and shocked you, I've done my job.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Sure.
My question is a follow-up question to the things that you said. How one should be chanting and what happens when one is chanting and they give rating to themselves 8, 9, 10.
What happens to the person who gives themselves an 8, 9, 10 because they're not humble? Is that what you're saying? Oh no, you're saying, no, I got the question. What's the result of chanting at 8, 9, 10? Is that the question?
Yet plus during the chanting, what's happening and before we understood, we should not be doing Nama Pra and follow the regulatory principle and do the things by saying he and Krishna.
What's the question?
I thought I understood the question. He's trying to explain it again. So if he said, if someone's chanting at 8, 9, 10, then you asked a question I didn't follow. What did you say after that?
What happens during the chanting and what's the result?
What happens if you're chanting 8, 9, 10, what's the experience? Oh yeah. Nectar. This is the experience. This is your 16th round. Right? And this is the experience when you're at a 3, 16th round. And then when you're 8, 9, 10, you hit 16, and your experience is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram. Prabhu, service. Hare. A little while more. Just don't bother me now. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. The symptom of 8, 9, 10 is you like chanting and you want to keep chanting. When you hit 16, just keep going. So that's why there's a funny story. One leader said, he went to a GBC meeting, he said, I have to make a confession, I can't chant 16 rounds. He was joking, because he chants 32. And he said, and everybody's like, okay, we have to talk to him. And he said, I meant I can't stop at 16. It's impossible for me to chant 16. I have to chant 32, because I have a taste. Right? So, think of it like a preparation that you like. Let's say you like rasgulla or sandesh or pakora. There's a certain kind of pakora like tomato pakora, whatever it is. And then we might say, Prabhu, would you like this pakora? And you say, no. And I say, but I thought it's your favorite. And you say, yeah, it is. But if you give me one, I'll eat 10. I can't control myself. I can't stop at one, so I just don't eat any. So the sign of taste is you eat a lot, right? You eat more of what you like. So the sign of someone 8, 9, and 10 is they just chant more and they relish it and they look forward to it. And when they put their hand in their bead bag, they're like, Jai. So I'm waiting for this all night. And, I just woke up so I could chant. So it's easy to understand because that's how you feel about anything that you like. Correct? Yeah. So when you ask the question, what would it be like? It will be similar, not exact same experience, but similar to anything that you like. You'd be energized, you'd look forward to it, you'd relish it, you always want to do it. Anytime you had spare time, you would do it. To describe the experience, all we can say is what Bhaktivinoda Thakur said. He said, when I chant, I feel like I'm drowning in an ocean of nectar. It's like everywhere there's just nectar, the holy name. How much nectar is in the holy name, Rupa Goswami? I need, to taste. If I had 100 tongues, I could eat 100 pakoras at one time. These pakoras are so good, I wish I had 1,000 tongues. I could eat 1,000 pakoras. This holy name is so sweet, I wish I had 1,000 tongues. I could chant with 1,000 mouths the holy name, and I could relish it 1,000 more times. Isn't that interesting? You ever feel that way? You're eating something, and you start to get full, and you go, I wish I had another stomach. This is so good, but I can't eat anymore. Yes, that happens to me all the time. It's so frustrating, You're eating something that's delicious, and you're full. You can't eat anymore. And if you eat more, you just get sick. And sometimes we eat more because it tastes good. Is that okay? Should we chant a little bit? Okay, last question. 2 last questions.
Thank you very much for again emphasizing how important is feelings when chanting. Actually, I just wanted to understand in a sense. So you're saying that when the more we read Prabhupada books and the more our intentions become clear and our attitudes become clear by service, that makes our chanting automatically improve?
No, yes, but you have to make the effort. You have to understand the holy name, what it is. And the main thing is you have to make the effort. And you have to know what your intention is when you're chanting. The goal is pure bhakti. If the goal is pure bhakti, then it seems obvious when I'm chanting, that's what I should be praying for, right? In some way or form. Another way of looking at chanting is, Krishna's here, I'm down here, there's this big gap, right? So I'm trying to, Krishna's got his hand out, like come. But we have to come up and grab it. So chanting is like, help me get up so I can grab it. And there's all this stuff in the way. False ego, lust, anger, greed, envy, and like that. And I'm chanting, and Krishna, explode this false ego, explode this envy and jealousy, because they're all like big boulders in the way of me getting to you. So that's the whole thing. We have a relationship with Krishna. He loves us, we don't love him. He's waiting for us to love him. And we're chanting with the prayer that Krishna, I want to love. Let me love you. Help me love you. Because I'm the one who's delinquent, not you. There's this perfect relationship waiting. All you have to do is participate. But somehow or other, due to conditioning, I can't participate. So I'm praying to Krishna to purify me. So that love that's within me comes and I can reciprocate. We're doing a retreat in Govardhan. And one day, we're going to focus on this topic of how Krishna loves us and how our whole life is simply reciprocating with that love. Trying to pay back. Trying to qualify ourselves for the relationship. And that's really what Japa and the holy name is all about. Qualifying myself to enter that relationship. He's already qualified. Right?
Just one more.
You know the saying? In every bad relationship you ever had, you were there. Right? Because it takes two to have a relationship. Right? So this, you say, in every bad relationship you ever had with God, you were there, and he wasn't at fault. So we're chanting, trying to correct that fault. Right? That's just the reality. Okay.
Maharaj, actually, means if we understand how Krishna is a person, the holy name is a person, then it becomes all easy. But it's not as easy as we converse with the person around me.
Right.
How do we come to that understanding?
He's asking, if I could realize Krishna was a person, then all these things that we're talking about would be easy. But how do I do it when I don't realize it? Okay, let's take the deity. How much do you realize Krishna's in the deity? 10%, 50%, 80%, 20%. What about Shaligrama? How much do you realize Krishna's in the stone? How about Giriraj? For conditioned soul, we don't fully realize it. Maybe to some degree we realize it. But how do we realize it? By serving. And by seeing them as the deity. That's how we realize it. So, in the same way you realize Krishna, any pujari that's been serving the deities a long time will tell you their progression. And so they'll progress from just kind of ritualistically serving the deities to becoming attached to the deities, to dreaming about them, to never wanting to leave this temple because they couldn't leave the deity. But that's not how they started. But it came that way through service. Right? So now I'm with the holy name and I don't realize it's Krishna. So how will I realize it's Krishna? Well, how do you realize the deity is the deity? You have to first conceptualize, theoretically, that Krishna is in the deity. You have to figure everything Prabhupada said about it, everything the Shastra says about it, try to make sense of that Krishna can descend in marble, in wood, or brass. And he can take your service. So you got to get it intellectually. Then once you have it intellectually, you say, okay, I'm going to serve that form as Krishna. I don't even realize it. You know, could Gaurnitai dance off the altar? Well, in theory, but I've never seen it. So how do I know they're really there? But Prabhupada said they are. So I'm going to serve them as they are. And by serving them under that understanding, I start to realize it. So the same way, what is the difference between the holy name and the deity? The deity is marble, wood, or brass. The holy name is sound. Sound is a subtle material element. Wood is a gross material element. So what's the difference? It's Krishna. Krishna comes inside the wood. So now that wood becomes Krishna. Krishna is inside the holy name. Now the holy name is Krishna. It's sound. It's the same idea. So you get that idea in your head. Okay, it's just a deity of sound instead of a deity of wood. And so when I say Hare Krishna, the deity appears. Okay, but then look, where is he? I don't see him. You will see him in a theoretical model. In other words, by reminding yourself, when I say Krishna, this is Krishna. He's there. So I'm chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Where's Krishna? And you tell yourself, he's there in the name. You know, just like, and your intellect is going, he's there in the name? How does that work? You know, I chant apple, there's no apples. I chant water, there's no water. I chant Krishna, he's there. There's no compartment in your brain to register that. Find that compartment that says, oh yeah, that makes sense. A sound is a person. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, right? That happens all the time. No, it doesn't make any sense in the brain. Prabhupada said, intellectually, he said this. He said, intellectually, you cannot understand that Krishna is in his name. There's like, the brain is like, you can't. It doesn't make any sense. Right? We've heard it. How many times have you heard it? Krishna and his name are the same. You're like, yeah, right. You've got no realization. Heard it 1,000,000 times. Makes no sense. And I give class on it, and every time I give class on it, I'm talking about it, I'm trying to make sense out of it. And I finish speaking, I go, that doesn't make any sense. So Prabhupada said it doesn't make sense. But when you treat the name theoretically as Krishna, you will realize it's Krishna. That's how you do it. So a lot of times when I chant, I just think I'm sitting here with Krishna. He's present in his name. And I allow myself to try to experience Krishna's presence in his name. I don't try to intellectualize it. I just try, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Okay, he's here. That's what Prabhupada said. I have faith. Krishna's standing here. He's listening to me chant. He's asking me, what do you want? Okay, I don't see it all, but I allow myself to experience that. I tell this story, it's so funny. Now, you look at Lord Jagannath, right? Lord Jagannath is not a standard-looking deity. And we know the story. Well, there are different stories about why he looks this way. You know, his eyes got big. One time, I mean, there's different stories, but the common story is that he was being carved, and when King Indradyumna came, right? He came and said, like, yeah. The sculptor left. So, imagine yourself a 19-year-old American hippie. And Prabhupada has this little Lord Jagannath that was brought to him, and he asked a disciple, carve a Lord Jagannath, so they just carved one about this big. Right? So you have on your altar in the temple a picture of Panchatattva. That's Lord Chaitanya existed with the Panchatattva. That's like no big hurdle, right? It's just a picture of an historical reality of these 5 truths, 5 tattvas, incarnations. And then one day you go in the temple, and the curtains open, and there's Lord Jagannath. And you're this 19-year-old American who's never heard or seen of a murti, has no idea. And your guru says, that's Krishna. You think that's weird? Like if it was a deity of Krishna, it was like, okay, it's Jagannath. It doesn't look like Krishna at all, does it? I've never seen Krishna like that. Have you? And Prabhupada says, that's Krishna. And you have so much faith in Prabhupada. You're like, okay. And Prabhupada says, now you're going to feed him breakfast at 4 a.m. It's like, okay. What does he eat? He eats these sweets. You got to cook them every night. Okay. And then you got to wake him up with a toothbrush and a mouthwash and wash his feet and hands. And you got to put him on the bed at night. And you got to dress him every day. You got to bathe him. Like, okay. How weird is that? Right? Pretty weird if you're American. Maybe even weird for some Indians. So, how did Prabhupada get devotees to do that? And do 6 artiks a day to a wooden statue, and feed or give food to a wooden statue, and wake up him and put him to sleep. How did he get them to do that? Because they had faith. And so what happened? They didn't have any realization that this is Krishna. Like zero. I remember this one pujari, he would always fall asleep offering prasadam, because you chant Gayatri when you offer prasadam. Ring the bell, do that. If you realized that was Krishna, you wouldn't fall asleep, right? But then you talk to that same pujari a year or 2 later, and he's like, completely attached to the deity. He wants to do 6 artiks a day. He wants to cook 6 offerings. He's dreaming about the deities, shopping for them, buying them clothes. It's like, what happened? It simply entered a theoretical understanding, put into practice, and then he realized that was Krishna. Exactly the same with the holy name. I can't understand. The sound is Krishna. Like, the Bhagavatam is Krishna, non-different. Like, you're telling me that there's no difference between this book and Krishna walking into my house and sitting down next to me? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. No way. Yes. How much realization do you have of that? But if you read Bhagavatam, one day you'll have that realization. If you have faith that this is Krishna, non-different then. And then you realize one day, yeah, if Krishna sat down next to me and I don't have the eyes to see him, I just think he's another person. I wouldn't know he's God. Because if I can't realize Krishna, the holy name, I can't realize him when he sits down next to me. And that's why Prabhupada said hardly anybody knew who Krishna was when he was walking the earth, because they didn't have the eyes to see it. So it's interesting, right? It's like, what makes you think if Krishna knocked on your door, you'd have a different experience seeing him than you would with the holy name? It's the same person, and if you can't realize him in the holy name, you won't realize him when he knocks on your door. You'll think he's some thief trying to steal something, dressed like Krishna. Right? So I enter my japa with faith that this is Krishna in his name, and I chant with that faith.
How do we serve? You also mentioned that we serve and also treat. So how do we serve?
Serve, I
Serve the
mentioned
holy
what?
name. Serve the holy name.
Yeah, give it to others. Chant it properly is serving it, and sharing it with others. And if you, in the broad sense, you say serve the holy name, serve Krishna. He's the holy name. What serve the holy name means, don't try to enjoy it. Don't be the enjoyer of the holy name. Be the servant. Okay, so now we're going to tell you something else. I have no plan to go through my systematic explanation of the retreats because all your questions, you're causing me to say everything I would have said anyway. And I don't have to remember what to say because you reminded me. So, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said something very interesting. He said, Krishna is not in the sound, but Krishna enters the sound when a person chants with a mood of service. Like, Krishna, I want to serve you. So what did he mean by the mood of service? He meant that you get out of the Purusha Bhav. Because you can be in the Purusha Bhav while you chant, right? I want to enjoy the holy name. I want to enjoy Krishna. No, never enjoyer, always servant. You know the story, Bhaktisiddhanta is taking darshan without his glasses. He can't see the deity. You know that story? And the Guru Maharaj, why don't you have your glasses? Without your glasses you can't see the deity. No, deity's seeing me. I'm not the enjoyer of the deity's meant to enjoy me. I'm not the enjoyer of the holy name, I'm meant to serve the holy name. So the chanting in the mood of I am servant. So Bhaktisiddhanta said, Krishna descends just like he descends in a deity when you do the installation. Krishna descends in the holy name when the person chanting is chanting with the mood of service. He said the real holy name is in the mood of service. He said otherwise the mantra is fake. It's just a sound without substance because there has to be the mood of service. I am servant. Krishna help me become... When we say Krishna engage me in your service, it also means give me the bhav of a servant. Please help me. Please destroy this Purusha bhav and give me the seva bhav, that I am a servant, not master. Because that's why I'm in the material world, because they think I'm the Purusha. So when you enter in this mood, Krishna, help me realize I'm servant, you're actually chanting. Isn't that interesting? He said otherwise it's a shadow of the name until the person who's chanting is in the mood of I'm servant, help me serve, I want to serve. Because the whole problem is we don't think we're servants. That's why we're still here, and that's what we're trying to purify. That ego of I'm enjoyer and I'm controller. It's pretty simple, right? So when we say, Krishna, let me serve you, it also means let me be in the mood, in the bhava, the identity of a servant, rather than the identity of an enjoyer. Does that make sense? Are you tired or did you all rest? I'm a little afraid to ask you to chant Japa if you're all tired. Should we try?
Yes.
Should we try? Okay, so we'll try. We've learned a lot this morning about the proper mood of Japa. You asked a lot of questions. I tried to clarify as best I could. I think we should be able to take anything that I've taught. Don't try to dump everything into this Japa session. But whatever resonated with you could be one thing, like the last thing we said. Oh yeah, I just want to chant in a mood of Krishna, I just want to be a servant, purify my heart of this Purusha Bhav. Whatever it may be, whatever you learned from this morning about calling out, praying, not being robotic. The real name is in the mood, not in the external. Whatever it is, whatever you want to ask Krishna to tell Krishna what you want. What's your intention? You want to remember what the holy name means. Anything. Don't try to take too much. Just take something that you resonated with. Add that to your japa and get out of your head and go into your heart and see what happens. Right? And notice what happens when you touch your beads right now. And if you get a positive vibe, that's good. Mahatma Prabhu said so much. I don't think I can do it. No, not like that. Like, yeah, let's do this. Okay, so we'll just chant for a little while. And don't worry about how long we're going to chant. I'll just let you know. It'll be before evening prasadam. So you have to worry about that. You don't have to think about prasadam. Hare Krishna. Oh, something about the Panchatattva Mahamantra. I didn't know this till about 10 years ago, that all the new devotees that I were around were chanting the Panchatattva mantra before every round. Nothing wrong with that. And I would say, why are you doing that? And they said, oh, my bhakta leader said we're supposed to do this before every round. And I said, really? That was a new one for me. And then I thought, well, maybe I missed something. Maybe Prabhupada said that and I missed it. So, periodically I would ask my godbrothers, did you ever hear Prabhupada say to chant the Panchatattva mantra before every round? And every single one of them said, no. I never heard that. And finally, I asked one and he said no, and then he said, but, and then he explained. And some of you may have heard this story. So first thing is, nobody heard Prabhupada say that, which means he never said it. He said before Kirtan Rishis in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So there's one day what he said, we were once chanting with Prabhupada, and before every round, Jamuna was chanting the Panchatattva Mahamantra. And Prabhupada couldn't hear what she was chanting, but he saw she was chanting something. He said, what are you chanting? She said, I'm chanting the Panchatattva Mahamantra. And Prabhupada said, oh, that's nice. He didn't say, all of you, do what Jamuna's doing. This is required. You have to do this, otherwise throw your round in the dustbin. It's useless. So, just like Prabhupada said, it's nice, but just so you know, for the record, he never said this is a requirement. You could chant it between every beat. That would be weird, but it's not like the end of the world. And then one time, the devotee said, well, Prabhupada, you said there's no offense in chanting the Panchatattva Mahamantra. So why don't we just chant that on beads instead? Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Gaur Bhaktivinoda Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara. That's so much easier, right? You don't have to control your mind to do anything. It's just like mercy, right? And it makes sense. It's, there's no offense. So why would you chant a mantra where you can make 10 offenses, or a mantra where you can make no offense? And Prabhupada said, because it was not recommended by Mahaprabhu. He gave us the Hare Krishna mantra, so that's why we do. Okay? Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu. Okay, see you later. You're all going to go into Leela right now, right? Now, hopefully not Nidra Leela. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna. So what we're going to do now is we're going to ask you, any of you, if you would like to share how this Japa session went, and if it went well, we would like to hear your experience, your realization. And if it didn't go well, we can help you to improve. So it's not a sharing only of what's good, it's a sharing of if you had any struggles. And if you have questions, then you can ask questions in relation to this particular Japa session, of how you should understand something or improve. So just raise your hand and then someone will show up with a microphone.
Hare Krishna. So, in the last point was that we should not be in the Purush Bhava. So I was chanting, then whenever some disturbance was happening, I was thinking I should not plan or think of wondering something, because I am not the Purusha, I am not the, I am Jaya. So I have to be with Krishna, and whatever Krishna tells, or
So what was your experience of that? Was it easier to chant like that?
It was easier to chant.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you. It's much easier to be a servant than to be a Purusha, because Purusha is artificial and servant is natural. You know, how many times have we heard Prabhupada say, the constitutional position, the Sanatan Dharma of the soul is to serve. If you think about that, that means when you're serving, especially when you're doing devotional service, it will feel normal and natural, and thus you'll feel good, you'll feel satisfied, you feel happy, because whenever you do something which is normal and natural, that's how you feel. And whenever you do something which goes against your nature, you'll feel awkward. So when we try to put ourselves in the center and imitate Krishna, there will always be anxiety and a feeling of dissatisfaction, a feeling that something's not right. Thank you. Yes?
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, so today's Japa session, this Japa session was the best chanting of my life.
Haribol. That's good.
But Prabhuji, the doubt in mind comes many times that can we do it 16 rounds every day like this? Is it possible to always beg Krishna and to take shelter of holy name like this for 16 rounds every day?
It's possible to try. And that's all you can do. But there's a nice saying, I believe it was said by Henry Ford, the great or great-grandfather of Ambarish Prabhu. He said, if you think you can do it, or you think you can't do it, you are right. So, I think a similar question came up, and I didn't get to, I thought of another answer, and I forget what question it was. But the idea is, when you do any devotional service, and here we're specifically talking about japa, but this can apply to anything, you want to put yourself in the optimal position for success. Now, whether you'll achieve that success, and whether you can put yourself always in that optimal position, that's another question. But you always want to put yourself in the optimal position. You want to try. Now you might say, well, what about my karma? Like, okay, whatever your karma is, you still want to put yourself in the optimal position to succeed. You know, maybe your karma is you'll have success at a certain level. Maybe you won't have any success. You don't know that. You may not know that. So the best you can do is put yourself in the optimal position. So that's why I say you can try. So we always try to enter our connection with the holy name in the best way possible. And if we do it, it will become a habit. If you try every day, month after month after month, that's just going to be the way you chant. So now we have a choice, because we're creatures of habit. And if we do something repeatedly, that's just how we do it. It becomes like what they say, they call it unconscious competence. Like driving a car. In the beginning, when you first drive it, you're conscious. Here's the brake, here's the gas pedal, here's the stick, here's the clutch. But once you drive for a few months or even less, it becomes unconscious competence. You don't think about the brake, the pedal. It's in your bloodstream. So what I think is interesting to note, that how you practice, the effort you make, the moods you bring into japa will eventually become a habit. Or how you don't practice, how you do it in the wrong way will also become a habit, because we're creatures of habit. And we just go into, we tend to default into what we normally do. You could call it the comfort zone or whatever. So understanding that, I think it becomes obvious, I would rather default into something good. And every time I chant japa poorly, I come closer to chanting poorly the next day. Every time I chant well, I come closer to chanting well the next day, because I'm a creature of habit and I will tend to repeat what I'm doing. So to create that new habit, that's the hard part, because it has to go against the old habit. And being creatures of habit, we tend to just default back to the old habit. If the old habit is good, that's great. If the old habit is not what you want, then you have to default back, and you can't default into it. You have to practice the new habit long enough so that, what we would really want to come to, if we could, is a point where we are so defaulted into good japa, we actually don't know how to chant bad japa. It's like I forgot how to do that. I've been trying to chant well for so long, I forgot how to chant poorly. And I'll give you an example. I had a hip operation, I don't know, 15 years ago or so. I fractured my hip, so they put a pin in my hip to bring the crack together, and it naturally heals. But I had to be on crutches for 2 months. And finally, when I was off the crutches, I forgot how to walk. I actually forgot. It's like, how do you walk? I didn't know, because I become accustomed to the crutch. So wouldn't it be nice that I've chanted well for so long, I forgot how not to chant well? Like I don't know what that is. And if you incrementally improve and you try to chant better japa, and you take it seriously, and you really make that 2 hours of focused time of prayer and so on, after a while, that's just what you do. You don't know. You come to a point where, as I was saying this morning, what is japa and what isn't. And so by doing it properly long enough, that's just what it is. So what it isn't doesn't exist anymore. Because it's like if you're good at something, if you're a good musician, you can't play. It's impossible not to play well. You knew how not to play well for the first year or the first month. But now, as an accomplished musician, it's impossible for you not to play well. You forgot how not to do it. And you can play so well, you can hold a conversation while you're playing. So wouldn't it be nice to come to that stage in japa? Where someone says, how do you chant good japa? And your answer is, I don't know how to chant bad japa. I forgot. I can't even tell you how to do it because I forgot how not to. But you may or may not come to that stage, and it may or may not be easy. But the point is, there is a stage that we're all on that's a default stage. Which is why when some people, like you can kind of tell the default stage. Like what do you do when you start chanting? Do you go like this? Or do you go like that? It's your default. It's like, oh, I'm chanting. I should sit up. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Or I'm chanting. It's like, I always chant like this. Hare Ram, Hare Ram. It's just a default. That's how you do it. So you can kind of tell when a person's chanting, And what's your default? 4 rounds like this and 12 rounds like that. And every day at 6:03, I go back like that. Or every day at 6:32, I get up and start talking. And if you start to notice this, you realize I do have a default. And every day after an hour of japa, I start thinking maybe I should take a nap. or I get tired or something. And it's happened so much that even when I'm not tired, at 6:32 I get tired because that's every day, that's when I get tired. So it's already programmed in. Even when I'm not tired, I get tired. So if you start to notice it, you realize, oh my Govinda, I've programmed myself to chant this way. So being true, if that's true, then why not program something better so when I default, I just default into this. This is just how I do it. Hare Krishna. You know. And I think that's true of everything in life, right? Is that okay? Yeah, so I pray that every day that you will have this experience, or at least you will try. And one day you're going to try really hard and you're going to have a horrible experience, and Krishna is going to be sitting next to you and go, okay, I wonder what he's going to do now. Is he just going to go to sleep because he's not getting the nectar like he did yesterday? You can't control the nectar, right? You can only try. I think it was Radhanath Swami who said that something like, when you don't have that taste, it's kind of like that's when the devotion really comes. It's like, today I'm not tasting. But Krishna's saying, well, you're going to give up? Like, are you the enjoyer of the holy name, or are you the servant of the holy name? So when you recognize I'm the servant, that even there's not a taste, but this is what I'm supposed to do, then you end up being happy not tasting, because you're happy being the servant, and this is your duty. Sounds strange, but there is a pleasure in just doing it despite the fact that I'm not tasting. And then you realize, wait a minute, I'm not tasting, but I'm not chanting for my taste, I'm chanting for Krishna's pleasure. And as soon as you think, wait a minute, it's not for me, it's for Krishna's pleasure, I'll just chant for his pleasure, then you get a taste. It becomes enjoyable. Because we're not in the Purusha Bhava anymore. We're in the servant Bhava. Thank you. Yes? Oh, okay, go ahead.
Actually, chanting went well now, because I was able to pray. But actually, I had a question, Prabhu. When I was praying, automatically prayers of not wanting to suffer was coming. But actually, then when I think about it, that not wanting to suffer is also me, when I come out of suffering, might be to want to enjoy, not to
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing. But if that's how you're feeling, you could turn it around and say, I don't want to suffer. So imagine you're having a conversation with Krishna. Krishna, I don't want to suffer. And he goes, okay, we'll just do bhakti yoga, and you'll be purified, and you'll come back to me. So you can use that fear or that aversion to suffering as an impetus to positively pray to Krishna and say, Krishna, pull me out of this world, I just want to be with you. So that becomes an upgrade from the I don't want to suffer. I don't want to suffer is selfish, but you can use it positively. I just have to say something about positive, because I heard this beautiful statement by one of Prabhupada's godbrothers. Some devotee came to him and asked to take sannyas, or wanted to stay brahmachari. He said, why? He said, I don't want to get entangled, and I don't want to suffer in grihastha life and this and that. And then he said, no, that's not why to stay brahmachari. You want to stay brahmachari so you can be free to serve 24 hours a day. Positive, because it's not to avoid something because you don't want to suffer, but it's to be free to serve Krishna. So one is more about my enjoyment, one is about service. I think it's similar to this. Many brahmacharis will say, oh, I want to be brahmachari because women are hard to deal with, and I'm afraid of them, and every 20 seconds they feel different emotions, and I can't, understand it. I'll just stay brahmachari, and it's like I don't want to work a job anyway, etc., etc. No, that's not the reason. The reason is I want to serve. Isn't that beautiful? So, whenever you're thinking, like, I want to be detached from this and that so I don't have to suffer, try to think of the opposite. I want to be detached so that I can be more available to Krishna for service because I'm not attached to these things. Then it gets you out of the Purusha Bhav. Because the Purusha Bhav sneaks in and you don't even know it. You think, I'm so detached. Look at me. I don't want this or that. Yeah, you don't want this or that because you don't want to suffer. So you're thinking about yourself. Whereas you think about, oh, I want to serve Krishna. I don't need this. I can leave that alone. Then that's the right mentality. Yeah. If you can do that. If you can't, it's okay. But if you want to be brahmachari, that's how you should think. And if you can do it, that's good. And if you can't, it's not a problem. And even you get married, don't go into a Purusha Bhav when you get married. You're only doing it to serve. And so that's the best ashram for me. Not the ashram that I'm going to enjoy in. Now I'm going to get married and enjoy. No, that's the best ashram for me to serve, according to my psychophysical nature. So even getting married, we're not supposed to bring in the Purusha Bhav. And you will find out that when you get married, that concept of being enjoyer, or in any, not just marriage, but anywhere, every time you have that mood of being the enjoyer, you always get slapped in the face. It doesn't work. That's not our position. The world isn't designed for us to enjoy. And try to enjoy. Try to enjoy a woman. You are not meant to enjoy a woman. You are not meant to enjoy a man. You are not meant to enjoy anything. You will enjoy by serving. And I can guarantee you from being married for so long. If you want to be happy in marriage, you have to serve, whether it's a woman or a man. You have to serve your wife, you serve your children. You'll be happy. If you want to be the Purusha of your home, it's not going to work. You'll suffer in some way that you wouldn't suffer being the servant. So I'm going to get married, and I'm not going to be the Purusha. I'm entering this because it's the best ashram, and I'm entering in the mood of service. Some of you may have read that statement about, I think it was a Grihastha man who came to Gaurkishore Das Babaji. I don't remember the context, but Gaurkishore Das Babaji told him, you should serve your wife because it will purify you. You should just be the menial servant of your wife, Imagine, one of the brahmacharis got married and everyone says, just be the menial servant of your wife. Nobody would say that. Say, you wear the pants of the family, tell her what to do. Don't be intimidated by these women feminists, be tough. No, but in the bhakti, he's saying as a devotee, as a bhakta, you should, whatever your wife wants, just serve her because that will purify you of your Purusha Bhav. Isn't that interesting? And how many devotees enter Grihastha life in the Purusha Bhav? If even one does, it's a mistake. You have to enter in as I'm servant. Nothing is ever going to change. You become the temple president, you become the richest man in the world, you get married, you take sannyas. Nothing should change. It should always be, I'm doing this because I'm a servant. I have 100,000 disciples that do whatever I want. Nothing changes. I'm a servant. Dasosmi. I'm still a servant. And Bhaktisiddhanta said this, such a beautiful, beautiful statement. He said, for a pure devotee, doesn't matter what situation he's in, there's nothing that can change his mentality of I'm a servant. You can give him $1 million, 1 million disciples, 1 million castles. You could give him the whole universe, and he'll always think, I'm just a servant. Nothing can change that. And we see, in our movement, we make someone just got initiated yesterday, we make him the temple commander. All of a sudden, he thinks he's Indra. Have you seen that? Okay, you got to do this. I'm the temple commander. Don't talk back to me. It's like, and he's been a devotee like one more day than you. I'm senior devotee, Prabhu. You do what I say. So that Purusha Bhav, it's always, dangling over us, waiting to attack. And we see this so much in Grihastha ashram. Someone gets married, I make fun. I say, when the man gets married, he treats his wife like a flight attendant. Sits on his big sofa. Ding, water. Ding, turn on the TV. Ding, what time's dinner? Ding, it's like Purusha Bhav, right? We as men have a much more Purusha Bhav than the women. Women have more of a service mood, right? Big program. Who's serving? The men or the women? Who's cooking? The men or the women? Who's cleaning? The men or the women? It's usually the women, like by nature. And the guys are just hanging out, laughing and talking. Watching all the women clean. The women don't mind, usually. And it's just natural, they do that. But we as men, we have bigger bhav, Purusha Bhav. So that's why sometimes when men get married, all of a sudden the Purusha Bhav gets stimulated, triggered. You know, okay, now I'm the enjoyer as my wife and family. You do what I say, and so on. And that's why Jagannath Das Gorkashodas Babaji was like so clear. He said, you are the servant. Whatever your wife says, do it. Imagine, you know. We think, who's this saying I should do whatever my wife says? That's not what Bhagavatam says. But he's teaching, no, that's how you purify your Purusha Bhav. That's your position. Hare Krishna. Thank you. So you realize you're not the enjoyer? Yes? Who's next? Okay.
Thank you very much. Actually, I felt this chanting was more natural.
Good.
And attentiveness as a consequence. So, also, I just wanted to know, what is the significance of chanting in association? And what are the cautions we have to take care to maintain this rapport?
Okay, here's a power user's secret. A Japa power user's secret. Coming from Bhaktivinoda Thakur. You know about power user secrets? You know what that is? Like you want to do something on the top echelons of that particular skill, then you speak to an expert and I'll give you the power user secret, you know, to elevate you to a higher status. So this is the power user secret from Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He said, if you want, one way you can improve your japa is find an advanced Vaishnava who has a taste for chanting and sit next to him while you chant. And that will, by osmosis, his energy will. It's like if you ever go to a big festival like Mayapur and there's so many advanced devotees, you just sneak up behind them when they're chanting japa. You just chant with them and you'll notice. So that's, I can tell you, this was very clear to us as disciples of Prabhupada. There were many times when, this story that I told this morning when Prabhupada was crying and he said, my Guru Maharaj is showing me Krishna. So that kept going on for a while, and then Prabhupada called all the devotees in, or all the devotees came in, and again Prabhupada was chanting and crying. And everybody started crying, every single devotee, and nobody knew why they were crying. So it's an energy, right? It's an energy coming from Prabhupada that's affecting everybody. One devotee told the story that Prabhupada made some khichdi. I think it was on Janmashtami or something, was it? You remember? Bhaktisiddhanta's disappearance. He said, and everyone took the khichdi, and the khichdi was like, they never tasted anything like it. And he said as soon as everyone ate it, they were all silent. Everybody stopped talking, just eating the khichdi. And everyone crawled over to the pot to take whatever khichdi was left. He said, and so the devotee's realization is like Prabhupada put some special bhava into this khichdi, and then we all took it. And I have another interesting thing. One devotee was wondering, are there different qualities of prasadam, like different levels? And so this question was asked to one of Prabhupada's godbrothers, that same Sridhar Maharaj, and he said, it depends on who cooked it, it depends on the consciousness of the person who offered it, it depends on the person who serves it, and it depended on whether Mahabhagavad, advanced devotee, ate it. So the four, and then it's all consciousness affecting the prasadam. And in Gaudiya Math, I'll tell you a story, this is really interesting. So a devotee came, he wanted to take sannyas from Sridhar Maharaj. He was a former ISKCON devotee. And there were problems in the early 80s in ISKCON, so some people were leaving. So Sridhar Maharaj said, well, we don't know you, so come do seva, right? So he said, okay. So he went into his room, put on his gumshoe, it's hot. And he went to the prasadam hall to serve prasadam, and there was a sannyasi there. And this devotee is a young devotee, sannyasi, probably been, 30 years a sannyasi, 56 years a devotee. And the sannyasi said, what are you doing here? He said, I've come to serve prasadam. The sannyasi said, you can't serve prasadam. Prasadam is only served by the seniors. The sannyasis serve it, the seniors. Why? And he said, why? He said, because prasadam is mercy, and mercy comes from the top down, not from the bottom up. So in Gaudiya Math, it's only the most seniors that serve. So who offered it? Their consciousness. Who cooked it? Their consciousness. Did anybody taste it before it's given to you? And who serves it? Their consciousness. So we're definitely affected in this way by the heart of Vaishnavas. Then there's another story. There was a kirtan, and this is not the only time this happened. There was a kirtan in one of our temples in America, New Vrindavan. And after the kirtan, this devotee was paying obeisances when Prabhupada was chanting the Premadwani, and he was crying. And sometimes when you're with Prabhupada, something happens, you start crying, and especially for men, we don't cry that often. So they say, why are you crying? Like, I don't know. I'm just overwhelmed. It's like you can't figure it out. Obviously it's that way many times for women. You're just overwhelmed. You don't know why you're crying. And he looked around the temple, and he said every single devotee was crying. So sometimes we had this experience with Prabhupada, that like Prabhupada, it was so obvious to us, he let out something. It's like, I'm going to give you something you could never get in a million lifetimes. I'm going to give it to you. And there was a certain ecstasy, a certain bhav, something that Prabhupada wanted to give us out of his mercy just so we could go from 0 to 108 in 1 second. Because we'd never be able to do it in a lifetime. And the reason we knew Prabhupada was doing that is because we were experiencing something we know we couldn't experience on our own. And number two, everyone was, did you feel something special? Yeah, it was amazing. It was something I'd never felt before. And everybody's saying the same thing. So that's the power of association. So if you can get association with advanced devotees, the energy of their bhakti will infiltrate, and you can get automatic upgrades at no extra cost. You get upgrades to business class and sometimes first class if it's a Mahabhagavad, and at no extra cost. You just have to be around them. Having said that, for some devotees, being around lots of devotees chanting, sometimes it distracts them. So that could also be, maybe that's not the best place, right? So you have to see. But generally, we get energy from devotees. Right? Now, there's another thing also to think about. You say, well, if we get energy from devotees, and I always do this at my retreats, and I do this with new people also when I'm teaching them to chant. When we're doing kirtan, I tell them, when you do kirtan, when there's the response, you can feel the hearts of all the people responded. Hare Krishna. You ever feel that? Devotees are like, it's a special day or something, Prabhupada's disappearance day or something. The kirtans are really special because everybody's feeling this separation from Prabhupada, and you can feel it in the hearts of everyone, right? So I always tell these new people, I say, well, we're trying to create an atmosphere that can elevate all of us. And the nature of kirtan is you feel everybody's kirtan. So the more you chant with bhakti, the more I will feel bhakti. And the more I feel bhakti, the more you'll feel. And it'll just keep bouncing off synergistically, or what's the word? It just expands. Resonate and expands, There's a mathematical term, Exponentially, yes, the word. It'll expand exponentially because there's so much bouncing off one another. So, one thing to think is, when there's a kirtan, even when there's japa, how I'm chanting is having some effect on everybody. So if all of us just upgraded a little bit the quality of our japa, the room would feel different. And you'd come in the room and like, whoa, what's going on here? I'm feeling something special. So if we can help others elevate their japa, then everyone experiences better japa. And that's why I was saying in the japa retreats, like on the 5th day after doing, or the 6th day after doing 64 rounds, for 2 days, and after talking like 8 hours a day about japa and having these amazing kirtans at night, the level of the consciousness of all the devotees chanting is much different than normal. So if you walk in the room, it's like, whoa. It's just like, you cannot chant bad japa in that room. It's like there's no way you can. It's like everybody's so, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna. You can't just sit there and go, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. The energy is so devotional. So you are all contributing to the level of everyone else's japa. So when you all space out, I've never done this experiment, but I bet if we put cameras here in the morning for 2 hours, we would probably notice the domino effect. He starts spacing out, then he starts spacing out, because we're all looking at one another spacing out. And, I bet that's what happens. But, I don't have the cameras and the data to definitely prove it, but you can just observe it and prove it for yourself. It happens, yeah. And then the energy of the day, when we're getting away from Brahma Muhurta, the energy is starting to get out of Sattva Gun into passion, and so you can feel that also. And so you're getting this breeze of Sattva Gun, it's making it easier to chant. Then around 6:37, Rajagun is starting, just to sprout. You got to, sometimes you have to really try harder. I was once distributing books at the airport, and the only time I could do it, because we were going to colleges to preach, and we wanted to do the airport, was like 6 a.m. or 6:30. So we would go out to the airport. Airports are extremely passionate places, and people are rushing for flights. Excuse me, sir, I'm sorry, I'm late. So it's really difficult. At 6 a.m., 95% of the people who say, excuse me, sir, excuse me, ma'am, stop. At 8 a.m., 90% of the people do not stop. And it was like that every day. It was like 6:30 to like 7:38. It was like everybody stops. Half the people stop, take books. Everybody's mellow. And it was right around like 7:36. It changed like every day. At that moment, you could see it. All of a sudden, sorry, no time. Sorry, don't bother me. Out of my way. It's like, what happened? I'm saying the same thing. I'm the same person. So there are energies working, and we have to figure out how we can not be affected by it. Otherwise, the japa just goes down. Correct? Tik? Someone else has, you have the mic? Yeah. Oh, he wants to.
Harish Maharaj. Actually, today's chanting was really nice. But just had a question. That you are explaining in the first part, the chanting, basically remembering, adding the feelings to the consciousness while chanting. That's the point you are making. Sometimes while I have implemented during this chanting, it looks like artificial. Sometimes it looks like artificial.
Yes.
So is it correct or not?
Yeah. Well, here's an interesting point. If you think about it a little bit. Vaidhi sadhana bhakti means practicing the vidhis, the rules, right? So, let's say you move into the ashram, right? You move into one of the, what do you call them? Those places by the colleges? You have a name for them? Voice. But you have another name? Base. Yeah, you move in the base. So maybe before you move in the base, Jagannath Swami Ki Jai. Maybe before you move in the base, You have a different lifestyle. And so you move in the base and you go, well, this is the schedule and the lifestyle, and this is what time we get up, what time we go to sleep, this is what we eat, what we don't eat, this is this and that. It's a bit artificial if you're not used to that, right? So, in one sense, Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti is quite artificial. Artificial meaning, like it's not, I don't naturally do that. I don't naturally just jump out of my bed at 3:30 a.m. So happy to be awake, another day in devotional service. But then that's the rule. So you do it. And 16 rounds, maybe none of us would chant 16 rounds if Prabhupada said, just chant whatever you want. Do you know, in Gaudiya Math, in the time of Bhaktisiddhanta, they didn't pay much attention to the grihastas. They kind of, the grihastas like whatever. Kind of like hopeless case. That's kind of how they looked at it. Like, what can you expect from a grihasta? So the brahmacharis had standards, and I was told when the grihastas were given Harinam Diksha, there was no, recitation of I won't do this and that. And the instruction was, and I don't know the Bengali, was don't starve the mala. That means chant something. Don't just put your beads on the shelf and not touch them. Don't starve them. So it would be kind of, from what I understand, it was like, don't starve the mala means at least chant 4. Right? So think about it. You come to ISKCON, you move in the ashram, or you get initiated, and how many rounds? Don't starve the mala. Okay, how many would you chant? 4, 5, 3, 6. How many would chant 16, 365 days a year? A lot less than those who take a vow to chant 16. That means that 16 is artificial, right? And Prabhupada established 16. This is what you should chant. So everyone who would not naturally chant 16, who is chanting 16, is artificial. Is doing artificial Krishna consciousness, which is basically the definition of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. It's artificial. It's a rule, as opposed to Raganuga Bhakti, which is you do it because you want to, not because of the rule. You follow the same rule, but now you're doing it because you want to, not because you have to. So you have to go from Vaidhi to Raganuga, Raganuga Bhakti. Or you have to go, even if it's not Raganuga and fully manifest, there's a Jata. There's a Jata Raganuga, before it fully manifests, where there's natural inclination and it's becoming more natural. So then you get to this point where I can't chant 16, I can only chant 32. Right? So it's lost its artificialness. So we have to start a bit artificial. Now, some of us come to bhakti with a past of bhakti. So right in the beginning, it's not artificial like we like to do it. So the new bhakta moves in the temple and he's like chanting 32 rounds and you can't stop him. And he's up every day at 2 a.m. He's probably been doing that for lifetimes. So that's why he's just like, what's up with this guy? He's only been in the temple 3 days and he's like doing better than everybody. He's probably been doing it. I just heard a story today. This devotee was the first devotee who went to Japan to open a center like in 1970 or something, 71 or whatever. And he learned Japanese. And he said, I would think in Japanese, I would dream in Japanese, I would speak Japanese. It was like so easy for me. And Prabhupada came there and he said, you were Japanese in your last life. So, that's a good explanation, right? And I was told that Prabhupada said that Ravi Shankar had been practicing sitar for 1,000 lifetimes. So, you could say, well, he practiced a lot in this lifetime, but you don't get that good in one lifetime. Right? So anyone who is exceptional, or a scientist, he's got this idea, and he can't resolve the theory for it, so he takes birth in his next life. In his next life, he's like this 5-year-old kid that, is teaching, math on the university level, He gets hired as a professor at 5, some genius kid, You see that, right? So, so it has to start somewhere as a bit artificial. But that's okay. As long as the intention and the mood is good, it doesn't matter if it's artificial, because I'm doing this, even though it's not natural, but I'm doing this to become natural. So what can you do? You have no choice. Because you have to do it. It's a program. It's the rule. You have to follow it. But that's part of your bhakti, to follow it, even if you don't want to. So you could say the artificialness is actually your bhakti, because I don't want to do it and I'm doing it to please Krishna. So that's my bhakti.
One more question that while chanting, what do you mean by feeling, chanting with feeling? Many times it looks like remembering the meaning. It looks like that. As it's a hearing of the Mahatma doesn't happen. As you're explaining that, prayer is very important.
I believe that's an artificial dilemma created by the just here. The just here mantra that's gone so deep around ISKCON. I joke with devotees, because this question comes up all the time. I say, there's a beautiful woman, and you're enamored by her, and she's talking. Can you hear her talking and see her at the same time? Of course. No problem. So, and if someone said, well, when she talks, I can't see her, and when I see her, I can't hear her, you'd think, what? It doesn't make sense. So if you think about what you said, you think about it long enough and you practice it, you realize it's a false dilemma. It's not true. In my heart, I'm praying to Krishna. To me, that's the way you would hear more. Oh, Krishna, please help me. Please, Hare Krishna. The more you're in need of help, the more you're absorbed in Krishna and hearing and feeling. And it's natural. So think of it that way. I think we're just used to, like, I can only do one thing at a time. Either I hear or I feel, but I can't do both. That's not true. Like, you're eating prasadam. Does it taste good? Hopefully, yes. So, prasadam tastes good. What are you feeling? I'm feeling happy. And if you say, well, Prabhu, the problem is when I take prasadam, when it tastes good, I can't feel anything. But if I stop eating, then I can feel. So should I eat or should I feel? And we think, that's a weird question, right? So if you think of it like that, then you'll realize actually it's the same thing. When I chant, I can't feel if I hear. No, it's a false dilemma. It's just based on that, just hear and nothing else. Shut the shop down. Just be a robot and just hear. That's for you can't behave. Okay, go in the corner and sit and do nothing. That's Buddhist meditation, right? That's like, you're such a rascal. Just go in the corner and shut up and don't say anything. Is that what the teacher really wants you to do? No, the teacher wants you to engage in study, but you're such a disturbance. It's like, okay, just sit there. So it was a little bit in that vein. Like, you can't chant your mind. You don't know. I know. Just forget your mind and just hear. Just do that. From that, feelings will come. Everything will come just by hearing. So it's not that I'm saying we don't hear and it's not important. It is. It's part of the process. But it's part of a broader process. And we're taking one part and we're emphasizing it and isolating it from the whole process. That's the problem. And that's why when we get the whole process, we're like, well, I can either pray or hear. What? That doesn't make sense. Does that make sense to you? Yeah.
Thank you.
You ever read a book and you're feeling like things are going on in the story and you're feeling like, yeah. No, Prabhu, I can't. Either I can read or feel, but I can't do both. I was like, really? No, it doesn't make sense. the more I'm reading, the more I'm feeling what's going on, right? So my eyes are engaged, my emotions are engaged, my intellect's engaged, everything's engaged, and I'm also feeling, wow, this is like, what happened to the Pandavas? That must have been so hard. That must have been so hard for Kunti, etc., etc. Right? So you're feeling it, and your mind is engaged in it, and so many things. Try it tomorrow morning. Oh Krishna, please engage you in your service. That's it's the point is, I want to make this point again. Maybe we didn't get it, because it's so easy to feel, Krishna, please engage me in your devotional service, because I don't want to. It's more like, Krishna, let me imitate you. That's where I'm at. Krishna, can I just be you? Can you just let me be you and leave me alone? Why do I have to serve? Why can't I just, make me Lord Brahma? Give me a planet like Dhruva. That's where we're coming from, right? So we understand that's wrong. And now we're in this position where we're caught. I know I should serve Krishna. I know I shouldn't be the Purusha, but I've conditioned myself to be in the center and always think of myself. So it's natural to pray, Krishna, help me realize that I'm a servant and be in that mood. It's natural. That's how you feel already. And like I was saying before, just recognize that you feel that way and go in and hear the holy name. Because you already feel that way. That's the beauty. That's the beauty of it. As Prabhupada said, it's not an artificial position. You feel, Krishna, help me, purify me, let me develop this mood that I'm a servant. Let me understand my constitutional position as a servant, because I don't understand that. Everything I look at, everything I see in this world, I just think, how can I enjoy this? Isn't it? Oh, look at that. That looks nice. Let's get one of those. Oh, look at that house. I like that house like that. Look at that car. I like that. Oh, look at that flower. Let's smell it. It must smell good. Oh, look at that fruit. Let's eat it. Right? That's our conditioning. I am Purusha. This world is meant for my enjoyment. We understand that clearly more than anybody in the universe, because we're devotees and we're trying to stop that. So we get our beads and go, well, here's my chance to ask Krishna, please help me. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. And the heart is saying, help me understand that I am a servant. Help me understand that's my position. And the holy name is just coming in, and we're asking that holy name. It's just absorbing and drinking it, and we're asking that holy name to purify our heart. So it's not two separate things, it's just one process. Sometimes when I'm chanting, I'm thinking, the holy name is Krishna's personified love, because that holy name will pull us back to him, and he wants us back, so he's giving us, this is like the net to catch us. Krishna says, here, take this name. If you chant it, we can have this amazing relationship. And I go, wow, thank you. So I'm feeling this affection from Krishna, and I'm just absorbing it while I'm chanting. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So if you chant that way, allowing yourself to feel that, you would not say, I can't hear it if I feel it. You would say, naturally, I'm just taking it in. I'm hearing it more, and I'm just letting it go in. Like, this is Krishna's love, and I'm opening my heart to that through the name. And the name is coming. Okay, here, this is how it works. This will answer the question. Taking me 20 minutes to finally remember how to answer the question. The theology of the holy name is that the holy name descends, Golokera Premadana Harinam Sankirtan. It descends from Goloka through the Guru to the disciple, into the ear, then to the heart, and then to the lip. That's how it works. Right? It goes in the ear, and then the name goes to the heart, and Bhaktisiddhanta said, it's not lip deep, it's heart deep. So when it goes to the heart, oh Krishna, please help me engage in your pure devotional service. That's what the lips say. So the lips are reflecting what's in the heart. Inam aparad, Inam aparad doesn't even come through the Guru, but let's say we've got the name from the Guru. Inam aparad, it comes from Goloka to the Guru, to the ear, to the tongue. And that's called robotic chanting. You've bypassed the heart. So you're just hearing. Just hear the mantra. Yeah, just hear it, but let it get to the heart before you hear it. Let the heart move your lips. So when the heart moves your lips, it's the real holy name. It's not lip deep, it's heart deep, right? So I tell you I love you, but I don't feel love. So my lips are moving. And what's in my heart? I've got a plan to steal all your money, so I'm telling you I love you. So you'll invite me over to your house, and you'll fall in love with me and say, everything I have is yours, and go, great. I steal it all and run away. That was my intention. You remember earlier I was saying, if you chanting the holy name and you don't, it's not in your heart and you don't mean it, you've communicated nothing to Krishna. Nothing to Krishna other than I just want to get these rounds done because it's boring and bother it. It's boring me and it's bothering me, and I'd rather be, on Instagram. And this is taking my time away from Instagram or whatever your favorite app is. Is Instagram popular in India? Not so much. What's popular? WhatsApp. Okay. Well, WhatsApp's not exciting. It's nothing much to look at. Facebook is okay. Instagram's better. Instagram for younger people. Facebook for older people. Well, that's what I was told. Yeah, because young people's attention span is shorter. So Instagram's better. Yeah. Did you ever feel like that? Like you're chanting Hare Krishna and it's taking time? Like, I'm really interested in what's going on in Ukraine right now, but I can't, because I'm chanting. I just, rather just stop chanting and, do something else. So what do you want to put in your heart when you're chanting? We have deeply rooted seed of Purusha Bhava. Yes or yes? Okay, knowing that that's the disease, now listen to this, because if this doesn't make sense to you, I don't know what does. I have this seed of thinking I am the enjoyer, I'm not the servant. That's why I'm here, that's why I have this physical body. This physical body is a demonstration that I'm thinking I'm the enjoyer, and I came back for another round to enjoy. That's why I have the body, right? Now I have the opportunity to pray to the holy name to purify me from the Purusha Bhava to the Bhava of I'm a servant. To realize I'm a servant, to want to be a servant, and engage in that service naturally. By chanting the holy name, that desire will develop. And if that desire develops, what happens? I get out of this material world and eternally serve Krishna. I can get that by chanting the holy name. That's amazing, isn't it? Because that deep-rooted Purusha Bhava is so deeply rooted. Bhagavatam uses this word, deeply rooted, right? It's so deeply rooted, I got to get way down there under it to the root. And it's not a root, it's a tree. And get it out. And that holy name will excavate that tree of Purusha Bhava, consciousness, and replace it with I'm servant. And when I'm in that consciousness, I'm servant, everything is perfect in Krishna consciousness. And this holy name will do that. That's amazing, isn't it? It can change that. Knowing that, you would think that I should be pretty serious about this japa because it can actually root out the cause of material existence. So if I'm thinking of my upma or my CV while I chant japa, it's not really going to do that because I'm not connected to what the mantra is. I'm connected to my mind in material world, even though the mantra is coming out of my mouth. Just like I'm reading the book, but I'm thinking of something else. So that's the power of the holy name. It can completely turn us into Nitya Krishnadas realization. I'm eternal servant of Krishna. What do you think of that? Pretty good, right? Now, you've been chanting for 30 years and you still think you're a Purusha Bhav, you're an enjoyer, there's a problem with your japa. We have to admit that. I'm not saying you, I'm saying me also. Any ounce of desire to enjoy means my chanting is not pure yet. But potentially, if I can come to a pure state, it'll root that out. And so if I still have this strong desire to enjoy, I have to go back and say, what's going on when I chant? What am I thinking about? Where's my heart? What's my intention? And then you realize, oh, I'm not connecting with what this holy name really is. But once I connect, it's much different, right? So how did I begin today? You remember how we began? With that mood. Prabhupada said, Krishna, I'm offering you this. And then I said, okay, I want to teach you what the holy name is and what it isn't. Because if I can just teach you what it is, and you can remember that, then when you're chanting, you have the potential to enter into the real holy name, because you remember that the Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, no. That's not japa. Upma. That's not japa. CV. That's not japa. No. Servant. Krishna, help me become a servant. Help me become closer to you. Help remove anything that's in the way between you and me. Hare Krishna. That's japa. Then you enter into that mood, and then everything comes from that. Right? It's pretty simple, right? So then the next question you're probably all thinking in your mind is, how did I miss that? That's a good question. I go, Maya is more powerful than you thought, right? Because you're listening to this, Jagannath Swami ki jai. You're listening to this and you're probably thinking, what he's saying is pretty simple, right? And how did I miss it? I mean, it's like, and you're thinking, yeah, actually it's on every page of Prabhupada's books. How did I miss it? And I'll give you the answer. Prabhupada said, Krishna consciousness is so simple, you can miss it. And it's just a reality of life that some of the most simple things go unnoticed. There was a book called In Search of the Obvious. And it was a book on advertising, maybe like 30, 40 years ago. I think it was a book on advertising and marketing. And it showed all these obvious marketing mistakes that big companies made that were like so obvious a 6-year-old could tell, but none of them could tell. Like when I was a kid, or sometime maybe in your lifetime, Coca-Cola came out with the new Coke. And Coca-Cola was like the biggest drink like since the beginning of the universe, right? It was like there was no need for a new Coke. And that new Coke just plummeted it was like nobody liked it, And they did experiments where they took Pepsi-Cola and Coca-Cola and they switched cans. And everybody liked the Coca-Cola better, even though it was Pepsi-Cola, right? Did you know that? Yeah. So because they just thought it was the old Coca-Cola. Because to them, because it was that bottle, it tasted. So, but the point is that new Coca-Cola was so different, it was like, yuck. And so they had things in the book where these companies would advertise and they would do really well, and then they would change the ads to something stupid and nobody would buy their product anymore. And he was saying, it was obvious, like any idiot could know that, except the big marketing executives that you pay millions of dollars to, they couldn't figure it out. So when Prabhupada said, it's so simple you can miss it, it's like we've got complicated brains and everything's got to be complicated. So it's just interesting that I'm not some genius or something, I'm just telling you what I observed. And trying to put 2 and 2 together and go, look at everybody, here's 2 and here's 2, here's 4. And you go, oh, I thought it was 5. I thought it was 3.6, No, it's just like obvious. This, and this, right? So you can apply that principle to all kinds of things in Krishna consciousness. And my experience is that everything that Prabhupada teaches, everything in the Shastra, it's actually simple. So if you can't understand it, it means you're just getting too complicated. And try to simplify it, and you usually will understand it once you go, oh, we're not the body, we're servants of Krishna. It must mean one of those two things. It's somewhere in that, it's like, we're getting close to it, because I remember the grocery store is here and the hospital's there, so it must be close, so you're not the body, you're servant of Krishna. It must be something close to that, what Prabhupada's trying to say. Yeah. Pure bhakti, no other motive. It must be one of those three things. And when you realize, you look at this complicated thing and you go, well, yeah, actually that's what he's saying. I'm not the body, I'm servant of Krishna. So sometimes you just have to simplify it. Does that make sense to you? Yeah. Hare Krishna. Yes. Thank you. Yeah.
In Sister Sukam, the Mahatma says there is no hard and fast rules in chanting the word.
Yes, good question. You guys are asking, that's why I never put the slideshow up, because everything you ask is on the slideshow, and I don't have to look at the slides because you asked. Yeah. Your question is, what does it mean?
What is the import of this and how
Yeah.
what Mahaprabhu meant when he said this?
This is a contextual statement. No hard and fast rules. If you say no hard and fast rules, then it's like, okay, I have a realization, ladies and gentlemen, there's no hard and fast rules. Burn the 10 offenses. You don't need it. Stop reciting the 10 offenses. There's no hard and fast rules. Didn't you read no hard and fast rules? Why 10 offenses? So you have to understand, what are the hard and fast rules that he's talking about? Being born a Brahmin, being initiated a Brahmin, chanting after you take bath, chanting Brahma Murta, you can only chant the Maha Mantra when the sun is rising, like all these rules, which you in India are much more familiar with than we in the West. You know so many rules that, in the West we don't have so many. Wash your hands before you eat. Not only wash your hands, wash your mouth. Not only wash your mouth, wash your feet. Right? That's, the Paka Brahmin way. And on and on and on. So, Prabhupada translated it, no hard and fast rules. What's the Sanskrit? No time. You can chant any time, right? What's the chant? What's the verse? Tatavidam niyamita smarane naka. Yeah, any time. Niyamita. There's no, the yoga shastras, what is it? Yamas, niyamas. Like you don't have the same yamas and niyamas necessarily that you would have for chanting other mantras, Vedic mantras. Which is why we can go out in the street and say, excuse me, sir, we have a card. It has, on one side it says, God's mobile phone number. And you turn it around, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Excuse me, sir, did you know God's mobile phone number? No, I didn't. Oh, here's a card. You can call him anytime. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. And so we don't ask, but I have to question, do you chant Gayatri Mantra? No, I don't. Oh, give me the card back. Will you, and they say, yes. Will you chant this at Brahma Murta? Will you bathe before you chant? We don't do that. We give it out to anybody. So that's what Mahaprabhu means. You don't have to be initiated. You don't have to be born in a certain family. You don't have to be on a certain level of purity or cleanliness. You don't have to be initiated. The holy name doesn't wait for initiation. Initiation means, in this context, second initiation, as we know it. The holy name doesn't wait for initiation. So a lot of devotees are like, I'm waiting to be initiated by my guru. What if I die before I get initiation? You've got a guru and you've got the holy name. What's your problem? Initiation is just a formality you're promising. But you already chanted for 10 years. You're already following the principles. So your holy name is working even before initiation. Because it doesn't depend on initiation. So that's what Mahaprabhu means. Otherwise, throw out any rule. Okay, no hard and fast rules. All right, don't starve the mala. 16 is a hard and fast rule. Right? So this is really good that you ask it, because there's so many things in Shastra that have a context, and if you don't know the context, you can't understand what he's saying. You know, I've heard some people say something in class, and I'm like, no, that's not what it means. But the devotee giving the class didn't know the context, so he was just giving what it seems. This is what it seems to be saying. But when you know the context, no, it's not saying you don't have to chant 16, and you don't have to follow any sadhana, and you can chant doing a headstand or whatever. You know? What are the hard and fast rules that Mahaprabhu was referring to? Then you understand that and go, oh, okay. Doesn't wait for initiation, right? Prabhupada said in Dwapara Yuga, I believe Dwapara Yuga and before that, you could not get instructions in Shastra if you had not been given Diksha by your guru, at least Upanayanam, right? The boys go to Gurukul, you have to get Upanayanam. You don't get Upanayanam, you're not qualified. You cannot hear Vedas. You cannot hear from your guru. Right? And now everybody on the street's getting the Maha Mantra. No Upanayanam, nothing. You chant this, right? You know, just chant it. We said, chant it on the bus. You go on the bus to work, chant it on the bus. You know, like what Vedic mantra can you chant on the bus? You know, where does it say in the Vedas? Chant this on the bus. Does that make sense? Yeah. So just to emphasize this point, context is very important. You probably know this story where there was a sannyasi, and I think he was the president of Vrindavan. And we know that sannyas, when you're given sannyas means you go a few days, stay somewhere a few days, you travel. So that way you never become attached, and then you benefit so many people. You're always moving, no attachment, you have few possessions. So Prabhupada told a sannyasi in Vrindavan, he was the temple president, or he wanted to be the temple president, he said, I never want you to leave Vrindavan. And the way the story was told, immediately after he told him that, another sannyasi came and Prabhupada said, I never want you to stay in one place more than 3 days. What's the context? This sannyasi wanted to stay, was doing a good job, he was a good manager, Prabhupada needed him there, and he wanted someone of his caliber to stay there. So it didn't matter that he was a sannyasi. So now, if you only know the first half of the story, kill yourself, and not the second half, we don't apply that, and then you give the class, all sannyasis should be temple presidents and never leave their posts, which is completely contrary to everything Prabhupada ever said about a sannyasi. You shouldn't be involved in management. You should, study Shastra, travel, preach, like that. Although he let sannyasis be involved in management, but generally, no. In the early days, it didn't matter what position you had. When you took sannyas, you left all managerial positions. That's what the first sannyasis were, the first 5 years or so, or 4 or 3. No matter who they were when they took sannyas. But then Prabhupada needed them because he didn't have enough managers and said, go back and manage. But initially they dropped all their management. So, should a sannyasi be temple president? Should he be a manager? Ideally, no. That's not the position. It's like, why take sannyas and then, get a position of management? But if you're a really good manager and you can do service that nobody can, maybe you have to do that. Maybe that's what Prabhupada wants. So context. For those of you who weren't here earlier, there was a story where a sannyasi asked Prabhupada, if a sannyasi falls down, should he kill himself? And Prabhupada said, yes. This is important because sometimes when Prabhupada would say something, he's basing it on Shastra, but he doesn't mean you should do it. Because there's so many things Prabhupada said you should do, which he did the opposite. Did you know that? In the class, he's saying this, this, and this. And he goes out of the class, he does the opposite. And it's like, why? What's going on here? This is bewildering. Because Prabhupada is simply representing, as Guru, what's in Shastra. But he's not telling you in the class necessarily how you apply it. So then you have to figure that out with your intelligence. How do you apply it? So here's the principle. The sannyasi falls down. He should kill himself. He's eating his own vomit. All of that, right? But the mercy of Mahaprabhu, the forgiveness of Mahaprabhu is such, don't give up devotional service, don't kill yourself. That was Prabhupada's mood, right? So, we were telling this story earlier today, for those of you who don't hear it, that this sannyasi asked Prabhupada, should he kill himself? Prabhupada said yes, and then the sannyasi was on a morning walk, he went to the back of the line, and then Prabhupada continued talking, but he said, we don't do that, Mahaprabhu's mercy, and so on. But he didn't hear that. So he killed himself. So, context. What's going on? It's important. And then once you understand context, things will not be confusing. The obvious problem is you may not understand context, then ask somebody senior, do you know the context? Why is Prabhupada saying this? So, it's so interesting. Prabhupada says something in class. Women are less intelligent. Right, we've heard that, right? It's coming from Manu. The women are like, how can he say they're less intelligent? Go argue with Manu. It's not Prabhupada's first saying. It was Manu who said, he's just repeating it. Right? That's Prabhupada, And also, it's also interesting because when Prabhupada says women are less intelligent, he's representing Manu. Doesn't even mean he believes it. He's just saying, according to Manu, women are less intelligent, Do you really believe that? And so, I heard this interview. I don't know, maybe it was royalty that Prabhupada was speaking to, like the princess of Iran or something. I don't remember. And after the discussion, Prabhupada said, that woman is very intelligent, which now appears to be a complete contradiction. Right? You intelligent Western boys and girls. How many times did he say that? It's like, why did he say women are less intelligent? And then he's saying, these women devotees, if you follow them, you go back to Godhead. So, you will find in Prabhupada's life him doing things which apparently contradict what he says, because as a guru, he's representing, this is what the Shastra says. Doesn't mean I agree with it, but he's, in the Bhagavatam class, he's, you often just explain, this is, in Vedic culture it was like this. And you don't explain anything about how it should be today. You just go, this is the system from ancient times. And then, I don't know if I was telling this to you the other morning, then Prabhupada writes in a letter that our girls are going out and preaching, distributing books and so forth, and this has never been done before in Vedic culture. The women just supported the husband. And then Prabhupada writes in his letter, he said, this is a new thing. So Prabhupada gives a whole class on the wife should serve the husband, be submissive, etc., etc. And then he writes a letter, women go out, it's a new thing. So let's say you didn't read the letter, you only read the first half, kill yourself. You didn't read the second half. And then he puts in the Bhagavatam, we are preaching with doubled strength because we're engaging in men and women equally in preaching. And he says, we can see the women are as competent as the men, all contradicting the women are less intelligent that he quotes so many places. And so he's saying, yeah, but that was the old system, now we have the new system. So you really have to, I suggest to you, every biography on Prabhupada you read, and every letter, and the letters will amaze you, some of the things that Prabhupada said. I hear some of the things that Prabhupada said, that if I said it as me, you would question, where's that coming from? That's not Shastra. I know, Prabhupada said it. He told a devotee, who was an actor and a dancer, he said, you have heart. He said, be creative. Comes from the heart. It has more effect on people when you're creative, spontaneous. So I sit up here in class and I go, you should all be spontaneous. And the temple president's like, what did you just tell everybody? Is he going to do whatever they want? I don't know, I'm just saying what Prabhupada said. Be spontaneous, you know. So you have to take everything, you know. What did Prabhupada say? Follow the principles, get up early, then be spontaneous. So what is the context of that? What does it mean? Who did he say it to? And so forth. And then you get the whole picture, and then you can unravel it and understand. Oh, okay. And then you'll know how to administer Krishna consciousness to other people because you've learned and seen Prabhupada do it in so many contexts, right? I thought it was really amazing when Prabhupada came to India in 1970 and they do these big Pandal programs and you go, Jamuna, lead kirtan, or Malati, give a lecture. Because it's like Prabhupada's going, see these white people? They're Brahmins and Vaishnavas. I know you don't believe that, right? What to speak of the woman? We're going to let her give the lecture. Blow your minds. You don't even think a woman can drive a car, and she's going to give a lecture, right? So Prabhupada liked pushing, what's the statement? Like pushing the, there's a statement like, pushing boundaries. Yeah, something like, he liked stereotypes. Yeah, he liked pushing it. Like, you don't understand. This is the philosophy. Anyone can become Krishna conscious. So he liked pushing it, right? And then you go to his books and it'll say something that seems to be completely contradictory. Because it's referring to a context, time and place, Manu, this and that. You know what Manu says? Do you know this? That your Varna is by birth. Did you know that? That Manu says that. It's like, whoa. Guna karma svabhagasa. Like our whole philosophy is quality and action determines your Varna. And Manu's saying it's by birth. A different time, different place. Why would he say that? Because all the parents did the samskar. So, you know, it's a pure samskar. So, you know, if you're Brahmins, you're going to give birth to Brahmins, most likely. Right? Huh. So, funny story. Want to hear a funny story? This is another one of those first half without the second half, right? So before the days of social media, the way you learned about what Prabhupada did was a secretary would like write down some things Prabhupada said that he felt were significant, and then it would be sent to all the temples. Like all the temples would get a letter. Somehow we'd get the letter. Because there was no other way to know what Prabhupada said unless you got a letter, unless somebody called you on the phone and said, this is what Prabhupada said. So we got a letter. And Prabhupada said many things. And then in the letter, Prabhupada said, and this is another, you know, so many quotes, and then we come across this quote, you should only eat 2 chapatis and a cup of dal. Okay. So this was like 1970. And for us, as young devotees, everything that Prabhupada said was like, you don't question it, you don't think, like, that doesn't sound like Prabhupada would say that. That kind of sounds like we're going to starve to death here. We don't think like that. That's what Prabhupada said, that's it. You know. But don't think. No but. This is what Prabhupada said. So we went on the 2 chapatis and cup of dal diet. This is a cup, in case you don't know. Cup this size, 2 chapatis, that's your lunch. Your breakfast was 8 chickpeas, a half an apple, and a half an orange. Hare Krishna. 2 weeks later, we get another letter and go, it was the second part of the sentence. But if you can digest more, then you can eat 10 chapatis and 10 cups of dal. So it was, the first half was, if you can only digest a cup of dal and 2 chapatis, but we didn't get the if you can only digest part. It's just like eat 2 chapatis, a cup of dal. So there's a lot of things that Prabhupada says that have a second part. It's just not on that page. It's somewhere else. And it's our duty as followers of Prabhupada to know everything about how he applied those instructions and everything he said about those instructions, and as far as possible, what was the context he was talking about. And then you can clarify. This is Prabhupada. Otherwise, what's going to happen is we're going to have all these weird ideas, different devotees with weird, this is my Prabhupada does this, my Prabhupada does that. We have all these Prabhupads, 100 years from now. Right? We already probably have 5-10 Prabhupads already. Every senior gives class got his own Prabhupada, right? But it's understandable because Prabhupada's multifaceted. So they have their own Prabhupada because they're maybe focused on one aspect. But we want to get the whole, Prabhupada was very, very compassionate, very kind, very loving. That's true. But sometimes I was giving a class and I really wanted devotees to know how loving and kind Prabhupada was. Because a lot of devotees had this concept that he wasn't. Like, it was really heavy and strict. Because their guru was like, oh, Prabhupada is so heavy. And the guru was like, yeah, I have to do this. And Prabhupada didn't tolerate that. And so these devotees are like, I don't even read Prabhupada's books. I'm too afraid. Seriously. So I'm giving a class, Prabhupada's very kind, very merciful, very soft. And one godbrother writes me, he hears the class and he goes, yeah, but Prabhupada was very heavy also. And it's true. So you can tell millions of stories about Prabhupada's kindness, and you can tell a lot of stories about his heaviness also, right? So we want to do justice to our audience, we have to tell both stories, because he's both. Contextually, there's a reason to be soft and there's a reason to be heavy. And you have to know why and when. Right? Does that make sense? Yes?
So nice that from morning we are hearing from you the glories of the holy name. And it really helped me a lot also to have determination to chant better. But at the end of the day, I am getting a thought that what's wrong if I can, because anyway Krishna's feeling is more important. So I have to put my feeling to Krishna. And Krishna is a Brahmagari. And he will understand my feeling, whatever language it may be.
Mm-hmm.
So now, what if I chant like 108 times, oh Radha, oh Krishna, please engage me in your service, get me closer to you. Like this 108 times.
In English, you mean?
English, yeah. Because it's easy to understand for us.
Well, I have to admit something.
Because in shlokas also, if you don't know shloka, no translation.
Well, I did something. I thought that GBC was going to kick me out of ISKCON, but they haven't. I don't know if they found out yet what I did. But in September, late August or September, I was invited to facilitate a Japa workshop, a Japa retreat in Slovenia. They have retreats every year in a retreat center. So we did 5 days or something. And I was chanting, and chanting so much Japa, and then doing so much kirtan. And then during the kirtan I was thinking, why don't we sing it in English? This will be a first, get in the mood. Because we're so much about what the mood is. And I thought, so I started singing the Maha Mantra in English, and it went like this. O Radha, O Krishna, please engage me in your service. O my friend, please accept me. Please bring my heart closer to you. Any of you heard me? I don't know if it ever got put online. Yeah, that's why I'm still in ISKCON. Nobody put it. Don't put it online if you find it on your Facebook. Delete it. It was so sweet. It was so sweet. Oh Radha, oh Krishna, please engage me in your service. Oh my friend, please accept me. Please bring my heart closer to your heart. It's like, oh wow, So we'll have to see what happens. If I'm still in ISKCON next year, I guess it's bona fide. That's the test, right? Or you go on Facebook, the latest controversy. When did Prabhupada ever chant the Maha Mantra in English? You've contaminated the Maha Mantra with the English language. But a lot of times I judge by the response. And, so we would chant it in English, and then we'd just go into the Maha Mantra, just to get the mood, So I don't think there's, you know what's so funny? In case you haven't noticed, I've been speaking English, right? Have you noticed that? You probably noticed, right? I'm speaking English, right? And all of a sudden, if I sing in English, whoa, you can't do that. That's not bona fide. Oh, okay. If I could speak in English, why can't I sing in English? Right? Interesting, right? But in answer to your question, why not, before you chant, think, "Oh Radha, oh Krishna, please engage me in your service," because it's just a meditation on the meeting, right? So in any of those meetings, you could sing if you wanted, because there's so many. Oh Radha, oh Krishna, please make me qualified to serve you. Right, uplift me, please protect me. Please help me realize I'm your servant. Why not? So you can say that to yourself because, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, meditate on the meaning, so that's what you're doing. And what's also nice, what you can do is, before you begin chanting, just sit until you get the right bhava, and when you feel you have the bhava, then start chanting. Because then from the first bead, you'll be right there in the bhava. You don't have to wait. And I'll just start chanting and wait for the bhava to hit. Why don't you just bring it in first? Okay. I want to be, this is what I'm feeling now. This is what I want to pray for. You kind of feel it, get in your heart, and then start chanting. So you could say that, you could sing it. Granted, Sanskrit, Bengali, it's, purified language. But for us, who don't understand Sanskrit or Bengali, you understand a little bit because Indian languages are similar. But for us, I noticed that many Western devotees, when they sing bhajans, have absolutely no idea what they're singing. And I can prove it to you. I gave a class on prayer and I said, how many of you have you sung this song? It goes, Manasa deha gaya yo kinchu mo akpilantu apade nandakishore. Maro virakovi yokinchumo. What's the next line? Arpanantu yapade nandakishore. Yeah. So there's one verse. Maro virakovi, kill me, protect me, kill me. Right? Maro, you can kill me or protect me. So I said, how many of you sing that song? It's all Western audience. Oh yeah, we know that bhajan. And I say, they don't know what it means. And I'm going to tell them what it means, because it's just nice to sit and sing bhajan. You kind of it means something about surrender, mind, body, whatever. You know how difficult it is to give your mind to Krishna? You know how attached you are to your own thoughts and independence? Krishna, I'm giving you my mind, it's yours, you just can. We're so attached to it. So we don't realize what we're saying. So I asked the question, I said, it was a workshop on prayer, and I thought, well, why don't we go to the deities and offer prayer? And this is the prayer I would like you to offer, but I won't force you. How many of you would go to the deities and say, if you like, you can kill me? Not one hand went up. Oh, well, maybe a few suicidal devotees. They were like, yeah, I'll do that. So I made a point. They didn't realize what was coming next. It was a setup. You all sang this song, if you can protect me or kill me. Did you know you sang that? And they're like, no. Do you think you should sing it in English? 'Cause maybe when it's time to sing that song, you want to leave the temple room because you don't want to sing that. It was interesting, right? Isn't it? Well, I have to say it because I'm in the temple, I can't leave. But, so it's a bit of a disadvantage. So, I have an ambition to record the Shishastakam in English, and we've already recorded one demo of the 8th verse. It's really beautiful. It's like a ballad, Western music ballad, but soft and sweet. And when we sing it, everybody feels like, oh, I never really understood the depth of that, because we're all English speakers. So, Ashishava Paravatam Panastamam. What does it mean if you don't know Sanskrit? And even if you don't know Sanskrit, if you haven't studied Sanskrit and spoken it, the words don't have emotion. That, like, your own language has emotion. When you speak your own language, every word has a meaning. It's contextual. Your whole life you grew up with these words, right? When you learn a second language, it doesn't mean the same thing. So we sing it in English, and I never realized the depth of what that means. I could feel it. I was like, yes, it works. Let's do it. So, why not? If something brings you closer to Krishna, why not? Whatever is favorable, do it. If it's not, if it's not some sinful thing. He's saying Shishastakam in English. Send him to the tigers. It's a disgrace. Do you know, when I was in Mauritius, for Janmashtami, Ram Navami, Gaur Purnima, everyone in Mauritius understands Hindi. Even if they don't speak it that much, they understand it. So, the idea was that these are holy days and sacred, so we should not speak in the local language. We should speak in Hindi. Right? And there's a devotee there who's Mauritian, who's not Indian. He goes, oh, okay. So what you're saying is you don't want the Mauritian local people who aren't Indian to understand what you're saying. I'm like, oh, I didn't think of that. Right? So what's more important, the sacred language of Hindi or language they can actually understand? Obviously, the language they can understand. So if it's favorable, do it. If it's not sinful, right, to give a lecture in English, is it? When you could do it in Hindi. Hindi's better, right? You can express yourself better in Hindi. But it's not the end of the world, right? So why not? If it helps you, Just don't tell the GBC. You might be on the street. It was just a demo. I haven't. That was the 8th verse. We did a demo of the 8th verse. And we had to rewrite it a little bit to make a song. So it goes like this: you can love me, you can break me, you can leave me or embrace me. You can do anything you want, but you'll always be the Lord of my life. You will always be, you'll always be, you'll always be the Lord of my life. I can sing it if you want. Yes. Just have to bring me a piano. You got a piano? Or a synthesizer or something? Harmonium's okay, but I could play you the demo of the song. Why don't we do that? It's not me singing. It was some other devotees that did it. But I think I can make my point better. You can see what you think. Can we Bluetooth me again? The song. I mean, I think the song's beautiful, but I wrote it, so, what do you expect? Right? Okay. I just have to find it. Give me a moment. Where it is. What did we title it? Earlier I was playing the Brahma Samhita. Some of you heard that? That was a new recording of Brahma Samhita that we released in December. It's available on YouTube if you want to get it. It was I was helped by a friend of mine, a devotee who's a Grammy Award-winning musician. So it's an upgrade from the original. That was done in 1989. So I have to find, I'm not sure where it is. Give me a moment. Hold on. I don't know what we named it. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram. Ah, it's your lucky day. I found it. So these were some musicians. Both of these have degrees in composition. And so I gave them the idea. I said I wanted it to be very soft, like a ballad, kind of like maybe what you would see, not exactly in Bollywood, but some soft, not a dancing song. And this is the demo of what they did from the idea I gave them. And you can sing along if you pick up on it, okay? Let's see if Jagannath likes it. You can look at Jagannath and see if he's smiling or frowning. You can love me, you can hate me, you can leave me or embrace me. You can do anything that you want, but you'll always be the love of my heart. You can love me, you can hate me, you can leave me or embrace me. You can do anything that you want, but you'll always be the Lord of my heart. You will always be, always be. You will always be the Lord of my heart. You will always be, always be. You will always be the Lord of my heart. Ashli Shabbat Paritam Vinashtumam Darshanam Marmatam Karotuva Vidatadava Vidatulam Prananatastu Sevanaparaha Prananatastu Sevanaparaha. So you can all sing now. You will always be, always be. You will always be the Lord of my heart. You will always be, always be, always be the Lord of my heart. Okay, now it's time to raise donations. There are 8 songs, and to produce them in Lithuania will cost $1,500 a song. That's over 1 lakh. So anyone who has 10 lakhs lying around collecting dust, you can see me later. Or anyone who knows some composers and musicians here in Bangalore or Chennai or somewhere. I have melodies for all the songs, for all the verses. You know, one verse that stands out, it's Nam Namakari Bahudani Jasarvasakis. I forget the melody. O Govinda, you have in your holy names, you have invested all your energies And there are no hard and fast rules, something like that. Chanting your holy name. And this heavy part. But I'm so unfortunate that I have no taste. I'm so unfortunate that I have no taste. I'm so unfortunate that I have no taste for your holy name. And when you play the song with music and you say, I'm so unfortunate, it's like, it hits you in the heart. I'm so unfortunate I have no taste. But we recite it every day. But does it hit us in the heart like that? You recite this every morning. Did your recitation hit you like this? Unless you know Sanskrit and you're in that mood, it probably doesn't. Yeah, so that's the idea. So Prabhupada said, if you can feel it, it's better. The best thing is if you can communicate a feeling through art, through drama, through music, or your good speaking of telling Leela, you're so good, as the audience is crying. This devotee came to Prabhupada. He was just initiated, and Prabhupada said, what do you do? And he said, I'm an actor. And Prabhupada said, I played Hamlet. In, Shakespeare. And so Prabhupada was very much into drama. And one time, the devotees did a drama of a story in the Bhagavatam, and Prabhupada said, this is better than the Bhagavatam, because all the emotions in it. You read Bhagavatam. Right? Nobody falls asleep during a drama. You want to hear a little of that Brahma Samhita again?
With his divine grace.
So we recorded the Brahma Samhita in 1989, and probably most of you have heard it. Govindamadi Pusham Tamaham Bhajami. And so that was actually recorded by accident. It was just like for fun. I never thought it was going to be anything. Sometimes you have an idea in your head and you just have to do it, even if it's just for yourself. At least you got it out of your head. So it was like that. It was just like, I didn't think anybody, I never thought, you never know. And so that became really popular. But that was 89. I thought, with the technology we have today, we could do something better. So I got some donations and bought a Mac computer and bought software, orchestral sounds and so forth. And got my friend who's an amazing genius musician, and this is what we did. It's 16 minutes. Should we play the whole thing? You want to? So feel free to sing along. And Hare Krishna. Oh yeah, we titled it Primeval Lord, because I didn't want to call it Brahma Samhita again because it would be confusing. Because if you look Mahatma Das Brahma Samhita and there's two, it's confusing. So we call it the Primeval Lord, and then we have the second track is in English. So I asked the devotee, I said, he's good, beautiful voice, I said, could you do it in English? And he wasn't able to do it. No. I ended up discussing with a devotee named Garuda. This first devotee, I said, can you do the English? And he said, you need to not translate because I can't translate from Sanskrit. He said, you need to edit the English because once you put it on the internet, you don't know who's going to listen to it. And the language of Bhaktisiddhanta, when you read Brahma Samhita, sometimes he's using words that we don't use or making sentences in a way that's not so common. And it was really for intellectuals. Do you ever read Brahma Samhita and wonder, what does that mean? So what I did was, I looked up every instant where Prabhupada, I read all the purports of the Brahma Samhita, and I looked up every instant when Prabhupada lectured on that verse of Brahma Samhita, and then I got Bhanu Swami's translation of Brahma Samhita, and using that I came up with a translation that's easier to read. So instead of Primeval Lord, we'd say the original person, something like that. I worship Govinda, the original person, like that. And use synonyms for some words that maybe were not common. So that's there also, but it's on YouTube, or if you have any subscriptions to other digital media, iTunes and whatever, it's on all digital media.
It's circulating.
What?
They circulated it.
Okay, you circulated. So you have you have the English and the Sanskrit. So we'll hear the Sanskrit. And while you're listening to, because I drank so much, what goes in must come out. I'm just gonna go for a few minutes. Okay. You like music louder than India, right? Because you're all deaf.
Lakshmi Sahasra Shata Sambrava Sedyamana Govindamadi Purusha Namaham Bhajami Devam Punantamaravinda Dalaya Tashram Bharavatam Samasitam Mudashundaranga Kandarpakoti Kamaniya Vishesha Shobha Govindamadi Purusha Namaham Bhajami Adola Chandra Kalasavana Namadya Mamshi Ratnangadam Pranaya Keli Kalavidasham Shyamam Trimangalalitam Niyatav Prakasham Govindamadi Purusha Namaham Bhajami Namani Yasya Sakalendriya Viddimanti Ashyanti Panti Kalayanti Chiram Jaganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadrujjala Vigrahasya Govindamadi Purusha Namaham Bhajami Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupa Adyam Purana Purusham Navayauvanam Cha Dedeshu Durlavam Adurlavam Atma Bhakto Govindamadi Purusha Namaham Bhajami Mangastu Koti Shatavatsar Samrakamyo Vayo Ratapi Manaso Muni Pungavana Govindamadi Purusha Namaham Bhajami Eko Vyasura Chaitam Jagadanda Koti Yashaktirasi Jagadanda Chayaya Danda Andantarasta Paramana Chayantarasta Govindamadi Purusha Namaham Bhajami परिमाणतयानपूषा सुप्तैर्यमेव निगमप्रतितैः सुवन्ति गोविन्दमादिपुरुषा अहं भजामि आनन्दचिन्मयरसप्रतिभावितानि तावेर्येव निजरूपतया कलादि गोलोक एव निवसन्नखिलात्मभूतो गोविन्दमादिपुरुषा तमहं भजामि भक्तिविलोचनेन सन्ता सदैव हृदयेषु विलोकयन्ति यं श्यामसुन्दरमचिन्त्य गुणस्वरूपा गोविन्दमादिपुरुषा तमहं भजामि नियमेन तेष्णा नानावतारमकरोतु वनेषु किन्तु कृष्णः स्वयं समभवत् परमं पुमान्यो गोविन्दमादिपुरुषा तमहं भजामि यस्य प्रभा प्रभवतो जगदण्डकोटि कोटिश्वशेषवसुधादिविभूतिभिन्ना तद्ब्रह्मनिष्कलमनन्तमशेषभूता गोविन्दमादिपुरुषा तमहं भजामि माया हि यस्य जगदण्डशतानि सूते त्रैगुण्यतद्विषयवेदविधायमाना सद्भावलम्बि परसत्त्वविशुद्धसत्त्वा गोविन्दमादिपुरुषा तमहं भजामि आनन्दचिन्मयरसात्मकमनसु प्राणिनां प्रतिफलं स्मरतामुपेत्य लीलायितेन भुवनानि जयत्यजस गोविन्दमादिपुरुषा तमहं भजामि तले च तस्य देवी महेश हरिधामसुतेषु तेषु एते प्रभावनिचया विहितश्च येन गोविन्दमादिपुरुषा तमहं भजामि प्रलय साधन शक्तिरेखा सा एव यस्य भुवनानि विभक्ति दुर्गा इच्छानुरूपमपि यस्य च तेष्ठते सा गोविन्दमादिपुरुषा तमहं भजामि यथा दधि विकारविशेष विभाति गोविन्दमादिपुरुषान् तमहं भजामि यः कारणानवचले भजते स्वयोगा निन्दामनन्तजगदण्डसरोमकूपा आधारशक्तिमवलम्ब्य परां समूर्तिम् गोविन्दमादिपुरुषान् तमहं भजामि यस्य विश्वसितकालमतावलम्ब्य जीवन्ति लोकविरजा जगदण्डनाथा विष्णोर्महान् स यस्य कलाविशेषो गोविन्दमादिपुरुषान् तमहं भजामि शतलेषु निजेषु तेजः श्रियं कियत् प्रकटयत्यभितत्पदमुद्रा ब्रह्माय एष जगदण्डविधानकर्ता गोविन्दमादिपुरुषान् तमहं भजामि वन्दे प्रणामसमये सगणाधिराजा एकनाथमनन्तमनवस्य जगत्त्रयस्य गोविन्दमादिपुरुषान् तमहं भजामि मरुद्दिशश्च भागस्तथात्ममनसि च जगत्त्रयाणि यस्मात् भवन्ति विभवन्ति विशन्ति यं च गोविन्दमादिपुरुषान् तमहं भजामि चक्षुरेव सर्गा सकलग्रहाणाम् राजा समस्तसुरमूर्तिरशेषतेजा यस्याज्ञया प्रभृति संवृतकालचक्रो गोविन्दमादिपुरुषान् तमहं भजामि धर्मोऽधिपापविजयसुतयस्तपासि ब्रह्मादिकीटपतगावलयस्य जीवा यद्दत्तमात्रविभवप्रकटप्रभावा गोविन्दमादिपुरुषान् तमहं भजामि यस्सर्वलोकमधुरेन्द्रमहोत्सकर्मा वन्दारुरूपपदपादसमानमोऽपि कर्माणि निर्दहति किन्तु च भक्तिभाषा गोविन्दमादिपुरुषान् तमहं भजामि यं क्रोधनाम सहज प्रलयादिनीति वात्सल्यमोह गुरुगौरव Sevya Bhavai Sanuchindatasya Sadrisham Karunapurete Govindamadi Purusha Tamaham Bhajami Shingamani Prakara Sarva Sukhalpa Krishna Laksha Videsha Surabhira Vipalayanta Lakshmi Sahasra Shata Sambrama Sevyamana Govindamadi Purusha Tamaham Bhajami.
Question remained unanswered.
You want to hear it in English? So if you look at the translation that you have on your phones, it's not going to be the same translation. But you can look at the translation and maybe it'll help you understand it better. I think we have to get it online. So hold on a second. So here's the English. Am I online here?
When life gives you lemons, make lemon.
Shabda Hari Ki Jai.
And similarly, when life gives you a certain kind of skill,
Okay. So we have on YouTube, you'll have Sanskrit and English.
I worship Govinda, the original person, who in abodes built from spiritual gems, filled with trees that grant any wish, tends cows that yield all desires, and is always served with great reverence and deep love by unlimited numbers of consorts. I worship Govinda, the original person, whose beautiful form is tinged with the hue of blue clouds. He has blooming eyes like lotus petals, wears a peacock feather on his head, charms millions of cupids with his unique loveliness, and is adept at playing his flute. I worship Govinda, the original person, around whose neck is swinging a garland of flowers, beautified with a moonlight, whose two hands are adorned with jeweled ornaments and hold a flute, who always takes pleasure in loving exchanges, and whose eternal beautiful dark form, known as Shamasundara, is gracefully bent in 3 places. I worship Govinda, the original person, whose eternal transcendental form is full of bliss and truth, and is thus filled with the most dazzling brilliance. Each of the limbs of his transcendental form possess the complete function of all the other organs, and he eternally sees, maintains, and manifests the infinite universes, both spiritual and material. I worship Govinda, the original person, who is inaccessible merely by studying the Vedic scriptures, but is obtainable by pure, unadulterated devotional service to him. He is without a second and not subject to decay. He is without a beginning, yet he is the beginning of everything. He is an eternal person, whose form is endless, and he possesses the beauty of blooming youth. I worship Govinda, the original person, only the tip of the toe of whose lotus feet is approached by the yogis who aspire after transcendence through the breathing processes of pranayama, or by those trying to become one with his spiritual effulgence through a process of philosophical speculation that takes billions of lives to perfect. He and his potencies are one. Thus, in his work of creation of millions of worlds, his potency remains inseparable from him. He exists independently as the Supreme Person, even though all universes are within him, and he is present in every atom at the same time. Such is Govinda, the original person, whom I adore. I adore the same Govinda, the original person who is praised with Vedic mantras by those whose hearts are imbued with devotion, and by so doing gain all the qualities and items needed to serve him and nourish their particular relationship. I worship Govinda, the original person who resides in his own spiritual realm, Shriloka, with his female counterpart Radha, who resembles his own spiritual figure. She is the embodiment of his ecstatic potency and is expert in 64 artistic activities. She expands herself into many females who are filled and vitalized by Govinda's ever blissful spiritual sweetness. I worship Govinda, the original Lord, known as Shamasundara, the beautiful dark person. He is Krishna himself and possesses innumerable, inconceivable attributes. Pure devotees whose eyes of devotion are tinged with the cell of love see him within the core of their hearts. I worship Govinda, the original Lord, who manifested himself personally as Krishna, and from Krishna expanded into different avatars or incarnations in this world, such as Ram, Nrsimha, and Vamana. I worship Govinda, the original person whose bodily radiance is the source of the spiritual effulgence mentioned in the Upanishads as Brahman. This spiritual light is differentiated from all the glories of this world because it is the indivisible, infinite truth. I worship Govinda, the original person and ultimate entity who sustains and supports all existence, whose external potency, matter, embodies three qualities: goodness, passion, and ignorance, and who diffuses Vedic knowledge regarding the material world. I worship Govinda, the original person, whose glorious activities forever outdo all the majesty and beauty of the material world. He is reflected in the minds of those who remember these pastimes as the transcendental entity who relishes sweet and blissful exchanges. The lowest part of creation is the material world, known as Devidam. Above this is Maheshtar, the abode of Lord Shiva. Beyond this is the vast spiritual realm called Vaikuntha, and above them is located Govinda's own realm called Goloka. I adore the original person Govinda, who has given different degrees of power and opulence to those planets and their rulers. Material nature, called Maya, is a shadow of the spiritual world and is worshipped in the form of Durga, the creating, preserving, and destroying force of this world. I adore the original person Govinda, by whose will Durga acts. Just as milk is transformed into curd by the actions of acids. Yet curd is not exactly the same as milk, nor entirely different. So I adore the original person Govinda, who transforms into the state of Shambhu, Lord Shiva, for the purpose of destruction of this world. The flame of one candle can light other candles, and all candles will burn equally. I adore the original person Govinda, who in the same way exhibits himself equally in his various expansions. I adore the original person Govinda, who assumes the form of Shesha, his own expansion, replete with the potency to accommodate all Krishna's needs, and lies in the infinite spiritual ocean beyond the entire material manifestation. Complete universes emanate from the pores of his skin as he enjoys creative sleep of Yoga Nidra. Brahma, the creator of this world, and the demigods, the controllers of this world, appear from the body of Mahavishnu and remain alive for the duration of one of his breaths. I adore the original person Govinda, of whom Mahavishnu is an expansion. I adore the original person Govinda, who empowers Lord Brahma to create and regulate the universe, just as the sun manifests some portion of his own light in all effulgent gems. I adore the original person Govinda, whose lotus feet are always held by Ganesh upon his head, in order to obtain the power needed to destroy the obstacles of those who seek his grace. The universe is composed of 9 elements: fire, earth, ether, water, air, direction, time, soul, and mind. I adore the original person Govinda, from whom they originate, in whom they exist, and into whom they enter at the time of universal dissolution. The sun, king of all the planets, infinitely effulgent, is like the eye of this world. I adore the original person Govinda, whose order the sun follows by journeying on the wheel of time. I adore the original person Govinda, by whose conferred power are maintained all the potencies that exist in all virtues and vices, penances, the Vedas, and in all souls, from Brahma the Creator down to the smallest insect. I adore the original person Govinda, who by his infinite kindness destroys the karmic reactions of his devotees, accumulated through lifetimes of ignorance and selfishness, and impartially ordains the karmic results for those engaged in material activities in accordance with their previous actions, no less in the case of a tiny insect than in that of Indra, king of the gods. I adore the original person Govinda, by meditating upon him, moved either by anger, conjugal affection, natural friendly love, fear, paternal affection, delusion, reverence, or willing service, one attains a bodily form befitting the nature of one's contemplation.
Sri Brahma Samhita.
Jai.
Jai. So my humble request, please share this with as many people as you can and ask them to share it. Someone put up my original Brahma Samhita on a site. Some Indian man put up my original Brahma Samhita. Had about 1 million hits. So I think it is especially liked by people in India. So I don't have so much access to people in India. They don't usually go to my page as much. So please share it with as many people as you can. We worked on this off and on for 3 years. And we invested, in getting the equipment and the producing it, almost $4,000, more, $4,000 or $5,000 to make this production. It was produced and mixed by very high-end engineers. So I think you could tell quality-wise compared to my original, which was recorded in a little closet. So Hare Krishna. So we're supposed to end at 8 o'clock, and it's 2 minutes to 8, so separation time. And the plan for tomorrow is I came to Bangalore, but one of my disciples is getting married, and we're going tomorrow morning. We'll leave here around 8 or quarter to 8. And then in the evening at 6:45 there's going to be an initiation, and then I will give a lecture about the holy name and initiation. You're all invited. That'll be translated into Hindi as part of the Hindi program. And then Monday morning I will leave about 9 o'clock for the airport, and then we're going to go to Govardhan for a retreat that starts Tuesday. And that retreat goes till Saturday, and then we'll be in Vrindavan, I think 4 more days itself, and then to Mayapur for about 5 days, and then to Australia. So I don't know when I'll come back to India, but probably at least by this time next year, maybe by chance the fall, if there's a reason. So it was nice seeing all of you, and hopefully we can see you tomorrow night if you come. And Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. I have some books, and I have some on USB. I have some of our seminars if you want to learn more. And I hope you got some benefit. I hope you understand what is the difference between the real holy name and the not real holy name. And that will put you on a progressive path where you can imbibe better japa habits that become part of your natural way of chanting. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
So I hope it was an incredible experience. So actually this workshop we never felt how the whole day passed. And we never felt a fasting time there, and so enlightening. So we're so fortunate to have Maharaj here and to hear from him. So it's something very special, and looking for your association every year. Every year if you come to Bangalore. And we have books, 3 nice books written by Mahatma Prabhu about take up bhakti as your practice, and there are also USB pen drives which have the seminars. So those who wish, you can please see it. And some of you want to contribute for Maharaj travels and preaching, so you can give to Anjana Prabhu is there, you can give and you collect and give together. So if you want to, anybody wants, you can stand up. Anjana Prabhu. Anybody wants to contribute or donation for Maharaj preaching and travels, you can give to Anjana Prabhu. So we thank from the bottom of our heart by one time chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And prasadam is there for all the devotees down. Hare Krishna.
Very well.